Lovely. The pods have merged into one again, Mark. Despite the best efforts of the Irish government, the Paropod is back.
They tried to keep us apart. They tried to take away our freedom, and now we're back. We've struck back against it. Leo, listen in. Listen carefully. This is what happens.
I'm talking to you, Mihal. You can't do anything about this.
Fucking despots. Terrible to see. Our freedom's back anyway.
Our freedom's back for episode 16. Our sweet 16.
That's amazing, yeah, isn't it? What a milestone. Every episode is a milestone.
Crazy. Every episode's a miracle.
Yeah. But, yeah, we're back at it. It's great. It's great to be here. It's great to, the in-person element is just amazing. Before we were doing Zoom calls, it was so weird. It worked, but it wasn't
the same.
It wasn't the same, you know? And now it is the same. It's the same as it started out as. It's great.
Because I think, during, doing it over Zoom, it really felt like, two people talking over Zoom. It wasn't, two guys sitting in a room drinking cans talking about films. It was two guys.
It's way more interesting.
A far better dynamic.
Yeah.
But now it's back. It's back to being two guys chilling out.
You love to see it. You love to see it. And we got another monitor as well, which is incredible.
The budget, let me tell you.
The budget is going way up. Anchor money is pouring in.
Pouring in. Thank you for all the Patreons.
Jesus, yeah, it's great. We can retire on this.
Can't wait to retire.
Yeah, this and the Christmas bonus. We'll be laughing.
Might even get, we might pay someone to be another to be another host.
Yeah, we'll get someone in, an expert,
I mean, the new year, we can see what happens.
See what's happening.
It's always a possibility. How have you been, Mark?
Great, just great.
Pretty good?
Pretty good, same as always, really. Watched a few movies, sort of just laying about, applying for jobs, trying to find something to do.
The general lockdown life?
The degenerate life, yeah. So, yeah. And then it was great to see things open up. It doesn't really feel like things are opened up, but
no.
I haven't been to town at all. I assume town's pretty packed. So
I'd imagine so, yeah. It's guaranteed it is.
Yeah. Plus the pubs aren't open yet, so it's a bit sad.
Yeah, but
they'll be open by the time this is out.
Are they this week, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're
Friday.
open. Handy.
Yeah.
Go for a big fat pint.
Yeah, everyone's in the goose this Friday. Be there, be square.
Is the €9 meal thing still going?
Yeah, you have to get a meal.
Sake.
So Christmas Eve, everyone will be getting fucking,
Carvery dinners.
Yeah, carveries. Last orders.
It'd be like that episode of fucking In-Betweeners where you have to order a carvery dinner to get a pint.
Yeah, that's literally what it is.
Yeah.
Prescient.
Fucking bastards. Yeah. What films you been watching?
I'd look at Werner Herzog.
Did a deep dive on the Herzog.
Is the white elephant in the room?
That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard.
Yeah, grizzly man or grizzly bear?
Grizzly man. Yeah, grizzly man.
Yeah.
The grizzly man.
Yeah, that was such a funny, unintentionally funny sort of documentary. But that's like his thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
To be like, it's just like fantastical. Everything's like.
It's so over the top and dramatic that it's hilarious.
Yeah. It's just like pure outside. It's telling the story of these pure outsiders, and like half time it's really tragic. Or it's always tragic.
Yeah.
But it's like so ridiculous, and the characters are so colourful that you can't help but just laugh at everything that happens. But
and he himself adds to that.
Yeah,
he himself being an outsider.
He's such a weirdo, like such a strange guy. Like he goes around doing like tours of like colleges and stuff in America, just randomly teaching in like you get those ads on Instagram for like dodgy places, like we can get you we can make you a Hollywood director in like 3 months or whatever. There's one called Full Sail University, I think in Florida. I don't think it's too dodgy, but it's like you have to pay like huge amounts just for like really basic sort of film course. And I was like, this is just pure scam. But I was like looking into it, and Werner Herzog teaches at this school, but it's like it's everything else about it is just a complete scam. And then he's just there like, the white elephant in the room.
Listen, everybody.
He's like, he's too in character. He's always in character. But yeah, he's a great guy. I watched Fitzcarraldo and Aguirre, Wrath of God, 2 collaborations with Klaus Kinski, another fucking weirdo as well. Their most famous collaborations. Sort of considered one of the greatest movies of all time, or 2 of the greatest movies ever made.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're really well
regarded.
Regarded, yeah. And they're on movie.
What are they about?
Fitzcarraldo is based on a true story. That's like, well, they're all basically all his films are based on true stories, sort of. But like, really,
These aren't documentaries like Grizzly, are they?
no.
Okay.
But that's the thing. Like, there's like Fitzcarraldo is based on the story of this Irish guy who was in, I think, Brazil back in like the 1800s, and he was trying to find like a route through the mountains to like facilitate rubber trade, so he'd get rich off sort of improving the flow of rubber up the Amazon.
Yeah.
So like, most famous thing he did was he basically enslaved the local population and got them to dismantle a full steamboat and like carry it across a mountain and then reassemble it on the other side, and like this
Standard
way.
Irish.
yeah. But his name was like Fitzcarraldo, I think, or something Fitz. But this is based on that story. But in this one, Herzog went to the Amazon. It's all shot on location, and like most of the actors are natives. But he got the cast and crew to like actually carry. They got a massive steamboat, 30-ton steamboat, which is way bigger than the one that actually did exist. And he got the cast and crew to actually carry this.
So he just did the same thing.
He did the same thing, but the thing that actually happened, but way bigger.
For fuck's sake.
For no reason. Just did it to like the authentic experience of reality. And he got them to like lug this fucking steamboat over the mountain of the Amazon and like to the other side of the river just for a movie.
That's such a Herzog thing to do.
Yeah, like people died during like the filming of the film.
Jesus Christ.
Like there were industrial accidents, but there was like no standards. And like Klaus
That's so fucked up.
it's a bizarre film. Really, like Herzog's a real romantic, like in the
like, capital or sense.
Yeah, the Byronic sense or whatever. So he's like he just does everything big, and the film's all about like the sublime and stuff. So no wonder he lugged the fucking boat across the mountain. He's just like, why not, you know?
Did he lift it? Did he do it? Do you think that he did any of the carrying himself?
Definitely, yeah. I think he's just involved. He's involved in every step of the process. I'd say he definitely got stuck in there because Klaus Kinski is like a long-time collaborator of Herzog, and he's Fitzcarraldo. He's the main guy. He's only cast as Fitzcarraldo because the original choice got sick with fucking yellow fever or something halfway through. They'd filmed half the movie, and then this guy got too sick, and they had to boot him off
and start again, basically.
Start again, yeah. And Herzog was like, he's always collaborated with Kinski, or he always had. Before Kinski died, he did Aguirre, Wrath of God, Nosferatu, and a few others, like really famous films. So they collaborated, but they didn't like each other at all. Like they hated each other. And one of the days during shooting, during shooting, everyone hated Kinski. Like everyone. Like there's a scene.
Well, he's a Nazi, wasn't he?
Oh, he was a Nazi soldier. He wasn't a Nazi. Like he fought for the Wehrmacht in the World War II. But he was caught on the first day, and he got into acting by performing in variety shows in the POW camp in England. So that's how he got his start, and then he sort of moved his way up. And he got to know Herzog actually in like this halfway house when Herzog was like 10 years old, and they used to fight even back then, even though Kinski was like 25 at this stage. So they'd known each other for ages. And so he got Kinski on, and everyone hated him. And there's a scene in Fitzcarraldo where there's like basically the ship gets boarded by the natives, and they all stand around, and they're talking in their native tongues about what should we do with like these white people or whatever. And Kinski's just there at like a table, and like they're all yelling abuse at him and like hitting him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But like it wasn't like a scripted scene. It's just Herzog was just like, tell him what you think of him and stuff like that. Express your anger to Klaus, and that's what happened. And it's such an authentic scene because
they kicked the shit out of him.
They actually hate him. Yeah. But there was one point that Kinski was like, he wasn't happy with Herzog's artistic vision or whatever, or his idea of what Fitzcarraldo should be as a character, and so he threatened to walk off set. And it's a really famous anecdote where Herzog was like, if you walk off set, I'm going to shoot you in the back and then kill myself. And then he produced an actual gun, and it was like,
oh my god,
like just in the middle of the Amazon, they've like there's no way out.
Yeah,
basically.
there's no one's going to come and save him.
Kinski basically performed at gunpoint for parts of the film. I don't know which scene, but like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, such a Herzog move. It's so funny. Such a funny backstory. And the film is really good as well.
Is it? Yeah. Is it genuinely good?
It actually is. It's really good. 2.5 hours. It's a bit long, but it's like, it's just, I don't know, it's like majestic or something. It's like a really romantic film because he's trying to build, or he's trying to do the original thing of like facilitating the rubber trade up the Amazon, but he's also trying to build an opera house in this place, in this like hypothetical village
Yeah.
on the other side of the mountain. And so like constant use of German like operatic stuff and like Wagner and like all that sort of grand kind of music. And there's one scene where they're sailing down the Amazon, and he's just got like a gramophone, and he's blasting like Wagner or something like that, like while everyone else is below deck like cowering for their lives because they've gone too far down the river, and like the natives are all watching from the trees.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's just Klaus Kinski, like Fitzcarraldo, on top of the boat, just like blasting fucking, oh, you know, it's just funny. Yeah, it's a real work of art. And then after that, I watched Aguirre, Wrath of God, which is sort of similar. It's actually based on a true story as well, but it's based on sort of like it sort of fills in the gaps because it's based on like memoirs of a monk who followed this guy called Aguirre into the depths of Brazil or whatever, like way back at like conquistador times.
Yeah, yeah.
And Aguirre is a conquistador, and he's trying to emulate Cortez, what Cortez did in Mexico, like the way he just walked in, basically like conquered an entire civilization in one go. And he's like, Aguirre is like, I will do the same thing. I will
Conquer Brazil, or like,
I will like subjugate these people and write my name in the annals of history. And he mutinies the leader of the original expedition and takes over. And he's like, he declares some fella emperor, and they keep going further and further into the jungle. And at one stage, like, they're on a raft and everyone's dying around them, and he's just there like, we have to press further on, we have to keep going. He's like, even though there's like no hope,
yeah,
well, he's so like caught up in this
idea of what he's going to be.
This idea of like the romantic hero of Cortez, like the conquistador, like par excellence, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he wants to be that hero, but like completely regardless of anything else that actually happens around him.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's just like caught up in a loop. It's really disturbing. It's a lot shorter than Fitzcarraldo as well.
I might watch that. If it's shorter than Fitzcarraldo, I might watch that.
Yeah, it's only an hour and a half, so
Oh, then yeah.
it's really good as well. Klaus Kinski's fucking crazy in it.
Is he a good actor?
Yeah, he's really good, but it's only because he actually is or he was crazy.
Yeah.
Like he was fucked up. Like there's just like a laundry list of things that like terrible things that he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone hated him on every set that he was ever on. But in Aguirre, he really portrays that madness
Yeah.
really well, and you just get the sense that things are just falling apart with every frame of the film. And there's things in like they shove a horse off the raft and stuff like that, and like the mutinies, and there's like hangings and stuff. It's just really weird. It's like it's like Apocalypse Now almost.
Because I was kind of thinking like the way they're describing both films like sound like Apocalypse Now or like Heart into Darkness at the very least.
Yeah, actually I read that Coppola regarded Aguirre as like an inspiration for Apocalypse Now, not just thematically but in terms of the setting and
aesthetics and whatever.
The aesthetics and stuff like that, because it's all set in the jungle and it's all about Colonel Kurtz going fucking crazy, going native basically, but he's going native as a conqueror as well.
Yeah,
it's like he's almost like completing the loop of savagery.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
It's
just an awful human being.
He's just a terrible guy. yeah, but like it's just very compelling movie making.
Yeah,
Herzog is what a genius.
He's one of a kind.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's literally one of a kind.
Yeah.
I need to definitely check out more of his films because I've only seen Grizzly and like however much of like Nosferatu that we watched. But I think like Nosferatu deserves a go again.
Yeah, give it another go. I think it's on Mubi, so
it definitely is. I think all of Herzog's films are on Mubi.
He's a lot of dodgy ones though, like Bad Lieutenant.
Is that Nicolas Cage one?
Yeah. And he's in Jack Reacher. He's the villain in Jack. Like Herzog is in Jack Reacher. He's the villain in Jack Reacher with Tom Cruise. Like he just does weird things out of nowhere. Like he shouldn't have to. Like he's rich.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have to do those movies.
But he just did them.
Anyway.
Why not? He always reminds me. Because I think he kind of looks like what's that fella's name? Skarsgård.
Yeah, Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah, he looks like him a bit.
Yeah.
Which, he's Swedish, but he's Swedish, isn't he?
Yeah.
But like Herzog is just such a fucking weirdo. Like that whole thing where like he apparently got shot during the interview, but like it's probable that like he actually like he paid someone to shoot him during a fucking interview.
Yeah, he probably
like,
got set up.
Oh, I just got shot. It's like, what? It's like, I just got shot in the ass. And he just turns around, his ass is gushing blood.
Yeah, and he's like holding the bullet. Yeah, he had this. I was looking it up, like his philosophy of filmmaking, and he has this concept called ecstatic truth. He has a manifesto as well, which I didn't get to fully read, but I'm not sure what that completely entails. But he has this concept, ecstatic truth, which is that filmmaking, if you're like in the business of representation, which is what film is, obviously, you have to sort of reject the idea that you're going to represent reality truly,
Yeah.
just with your camera. So he has this idea that if you want to get close to truth, you have to represent a story in like a really stylized and exaggerated and like sort of
Bring out a truth from the story, basically.
yeah, sort of like accentuate it, like bring it into being yourself, you know. But it's like a lot like Gummo or stuff like that, like Harmony Korine's philosophy, which is why they really got on very well, because he sets up all these ridiculous things and these ridiculous stories from like outsiders and like these like absolute freaks. Like all his films are about freaks, and like that's where he draws truth from, like the experience of the outsider and the weirdo, and that's like his philosophy.
I love like filmmakers' philosophies. I think like filmmaker philosophies are like one of the most interesting parts of like filmmakers themselves. Like I love reading like we're gonna get onto it now, maybe like Lars von Trier and like Dogma 95, and that whole like idea of filmmaking that like this is how you should, like this is a way of making films, and this is a way of making really interesting, cool, good films. Yeah, like fucking Herzog is just mesmerizing. He's like a cult of a personality, basically. He himself is like he's a
hero.
He's an aesthetic, or what is he? Ecstatic truth. He himself is that.
He's an ecstatic truth. Yeah, exactly. Like even Kinski's like backstory, as saying there a few minutes ago, Herzog himself has said that Kinski's backstory is completely fabricated. But he says that like certain parts are true.
Yeah.
Because Kinski himself elaborated on, like, he'd say he was like a hero during the war, or like he was actually against the Nazis and stuff like that. But his sort of ecstatic truth that he brought out was more just his ego. Like he was a freak. Like Kinski was an absolute freak, and he brought out the truth through his own sort of weirdness. And Herzog sort of like picking through that and trying to find anything meaningful from like the rubble. Like he's not just trying to show Kinski as he is to justify him. He's just saying this is who this guy is.
Yeah.
And like judge him yourself, or relate him to yourself, or stuff like that. It's cool.
It's a weird way of making people's lives like art, like a piece of art nearly. Because like even with like Grizzly, like the Grizzly Man or whatever, like it's about this dude that just like loved being out in the wilderness and didn't ever fit into society, and then eventually found a woman that he did like work with, and they still stayed out in the wilderness, and because of that, like they fucking got eaten by bears.
Yeah, it's not a great way to go.
Grizzly is so good. That bit in Grizzly where like he turns around and is like, this here is like whatever, she's a little bit feisty, whatever, and the bear starts coming towards him. He's like, no, back off, and the bear fucking listens to him. Like he's like he's like a man that's one with nature nearly.
Timothy Treadwell.
So it's such a weird story.
What a guy.
What a weird story.
Yeah.
A very tragic story, a really sad story as well.
But he's in all of us, you know. It's like that thing, what's it called? Into the Wild with
that dude. I can't remember his name.
Chris
but
McCandless.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd say Herzog would have loved to do a movie with him as well. It's basically the same story, but just like everyone wants to go off and just like live in the fucking woods.
Just live off the
every
grid.
now and then. Yeah. Just like disconnect, pull the plug, and like that's what Grizzly Man is about, I suppose. And Into the Wild, and like that's what Herzog's trying to get at. He's like, there's a white elephant in all of us.
Yeah, that bit. So people should watch like Grizzly just purely for that bit. It's so fucking funny.
He's great as a narrator and as like a host, basically.
Yeah. A host of a story. Like this is because he really brings out like the weird dramatic elements within the stories that he tells. He's such a weirdo. Yeah, like much like him, like another filmmaker that has a philosophy, Lars von Trier, and I watched his 2009 magnum opus, I guess by a lot of people, Antichrist, starring Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg. Charlotte Gainsbourg. That's not Charlotte. I don't know where she's from. It's Charlotte Gainsbourg anyway. Yeah.
That sounds fucked up.
It's that's a fucked up film. Yeah, I don't know. This is like, I don't know if I like this film or not. Like, I have been thinking about it like all day since I watched it last night. I have non-stop thought about it since last night and today. Just like running through like a lot of the themes in the film and what it's talking about. Because on a technical level, like if you go onto IMDb, there's no spoofs in this film. There's no fuck ups whatsoever. There's
bloopers.
No bloopers. There's no bloopers. There's no mistakes. Like, this is like a technically perfect film. The continuity remains consistent all the way through. If you go onto it, there's like one person is just like, at the end, there's like in the credits of the film, they like wrongly they name a song that was used and they forgot to put the H in the name of the song. That's the only mistake in the film.
Unforgivable. There's no cinema scenes for this movie, no?
No, there's no cinema scenes.
Imagine that.
So like, and again, like on a technical level, this film is amazing. It is so unbelievably well shot. It's like its color is like dark and like it feels sinister when you're watching it. And Defoe and Gainsbourg are amazing. Oh, this is like, I think maybe Willem Dafoe gave a better performance in like in The Lighthouse, but he is phenomenal in this movie. And Gainsbourg she's even better. She is incredible. And yeah, like all those aspects of it are ridiculous. But in terms and like the story and stuff like that is so sad. So like I'm gonna go for like full spoilers in this film because it's really hard to like talk about this film without like spoiling shit. So I mean, I don't really recommend people watch this film because it's like irreversible. This is like one of the most disturbing films ever made.
Every week we top that.
Yeah.
What could be more disturbing than this? You know, like what will we be watching next week?
Salò, 120.
Salò, yeah.
But I actually would watch that. Genuinely, at this stage, I would watch that.
Pasolini.
Because apparently, like the film like itself is like, well, Gaspar Noé said it's like a masterpiece and it's one of his favorite films.
Shut up, Gaspar. Fucking hell. Edgelord.
He's such a fucking asshole. But like, yeah, I mean, I watched like NYZ or NYX Fear. You know that YouTuber?
Oh, Nick Spheres, yeah.
Yeah, Nick Spheres. Oh, she was just going through like horrible films that she's seen. And it was like, there's like a level that I'm just not going to be going down. Like this fella, what the fuck is his name? Something Dora. Can't remember his name. He's just this German fella who makes like really gruesome, grotesque cannibal films. And like, they're really, really violent and they're really, really detailed. I'm just not going to go down to that level. And it's like a lot of like eating shit in those films. I was like, I'm just not going to do that. I'm not going down to that level of disturbingness. Because I can't even imagine there's anything worth talking about when you get to that level.
Yeah, what are you analysing there, you know?
Like, I'm going to watch like disturbing films that are talking about something at the very least. And Antichrist is talking about something. It is the story of the two unnamed characters, he and she, and they are, so at the start we see this like black I'm laughing because it's right. So at the start of the film, we are seeing he and her, Willem Dafoe and Charlotte, having sex in the shower, and it's in black and white and it's in slow motion, and there's like music playing in the background.
One of these.
And there's a bit, there's a bit where like Willem Dafoe's balls are swinging in slow motion, like to the music, and it's in black and white, and it's like, it's ridiculous. Like, it is, dude. It's such a...
That's so over the top. But it has to be on purpose, isn't it?
I assume so. like the whole thing in this film is like sex, and apparently I didn't know this. Like, all the sex is like unsimulated. Like, they actually were riding when they were shooting those scenes.
They're having sex.
Yeah, I don't know if it actually is Willem Dafoe and Charlotte Gainsbourg, but like whoever the bodies are having sex, they actually are having sex.
Oh shit.
Which I didn't know until afterwards. It makes absolutely, I don't even know why it bother, because you can't even tell if they actually are. Like, there's a lot of Willem Dafoe's ass in this, from like, just for like shots.
It's on the
from behind.
poster, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
Just like shots from behind of his ass. He's got real pearly white ass. And
That's what struck me about
that's
this
what
film.
struck me with this film. Defoe is pearly white ass.
So white.
So white.
Porcelain ass.
It's actually like it kind of looks fake, but anyway, we'll get onto fake body parts later on. So they're having sex, and they're like 3-year-old or 4-year-old. He gets up and he climbs out of his cot and he goes to the window and he falls to his death. And like they were having sex during it, so it's like really fucked them up because they weren't like looking after him or whatever. And the whole film is about like Charlotte Gainsbourg like blaming herself for it and like going through stages of grief. And Willem Dafoe is he's a psychiatrist, and he starts to like analyze his wife and trying to treat her as a patient. And then they go to the woods and they go to Eden, which is like the like religious symbolism in the film is so on the nose. They literally he and her go back to Eden to like try and like recuperate and like go through this awful thing that happened. And it's like the sun fell out the window, so it's like I don't know if it's meant to be like
The
Satan,
fall of man, yeah.
the fall of man or the fall of Satan. I can't tell which one it is. I think it's the fall of man, but because it's the sun, Adam and Eve, and the human, I think it's the fall of man. But yeah, and like there's a lot of, and like the tree thing that you were talking about, like on the poster, it's like the film itself is like this weird like distortion of the story of Adam and Eve, where the fall of man, and so because of the fall of man, Adam and Eve return to Eden, but like it's a horror film, and Eden is this like nature itself is evil and it's vile and it's grotesque, and there's 3 animals that you see throughout the film. There's the deer, there's the fox, and there's I thought it was a hawk, but like I think it's a bird anyway, and they're like recurring imagery throughout the film, and they represent stuff themselves. And then at a certain point, like it's a really horrible, depressing film to watch, and then it just takes a right turn and it turns into this grotesque, violent film where there's a lot of like genital mutilation in this film.
Well, what kind? What are we talking here?
Oh, we're talking balls getting crushed and a pair of scissors and a clitoris. So you can kind of figure all that shit out by yourself.
Aye.
It's rough. And they do not shy away from showing shit either. They full on show stuff. But on a lighthearted note, this is the film where Willem Dafoe's dick was apparently too big. Where Lars von Trier was like, yeah, we were gonna use like Dafoe's actual dick, but we had to use a fake one because Willem Dafoe's dick was apparently too big that it was distracting and it took away from the scene.
That's something Herzog would say.
So they had to use a fake dick, which like, the fake dick that they do use it's still pretty big. So Willem Dafoe must be packing like. But this is where like I'm not sure if I like the film or not, because it's talking about so many different things. Like there's a bit where all right, so the 3 like things that we see. So the film is obviously about like depression and like getting over grief and tying it into like religious symmetry or symbolism and stuff like that. So like the deer that you see, Willem Dafoe, I think it's only Willem Dafoe that sees these animals like throughout the film. He's really the only one that sees them, but he sees like a deer, and the deer has a fawn, but the fawn is like it's stillborn and it's still hanging out of the deer. So it's like a mother still carrying around her dead child,
Her grief,
which is what she's going through.
Yeah.
And then there's the crow, or like the hawk, or the bird anyway, where like later on you see like a baby bird fall out of a tree, and then a hawk just comes down and snatches it up and picks it up and starts eating it. So it's like eating its child, eating its trauma or whatever. And then the last one is the fox, and the fox, you see it eating its insides. Like it's like decomposing, it's like tearing out its guts and eating its own guts. And then it looks at Willem Dafoe and it's just like, chaos reigns, which was so distracting. It pulled me right out of the scene. It was so fucking funny.
That's a bit on the nose.
Yeah, because like it's just like chaos reigns just before everything goes to shit.
He just goes, it's about Adam and Eve.
It's about Adam and Eve. But like the whole thing as well is like they call them the 3 beggars, which is like obviously an inversion of the 3 kings, which is the story of Jesus. And the 3 kings were the symbols of like new life or whatever. or like when the three kings arrived, new life was going to appear, and then the three beggars, because this is an inversion of all these things, they symbolize death, and they literally like the dialogue in this film is really on the nose at some points, where like she literally says like, oh, when the three beggars come, someone has to die. Like she basically explains that to you.
All right.
And then she's like, she also says like, nature is Satan's church, which is like,
Yeah.
you know, kind of
like, yeah.
I kind of got that that nature's pretty fucking evil in this film. Like it's really obvious, and it's like it's not. Nature is never somewhere that's comforting in this film. Like it is something to be feared.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's what causes all the horror to appear, and all the like fucked up shit that happens comes from the influence of nature. And there's loads of like motifs that like carry on. Like there's like an acorn tree, or an oak tree I should say, that's like above the cabin that they're in, and it's constantly pelting down acorns. So she was there a year beforehand with the son, and she said, I found out something really sad about the oak tree, that like an oak tree only needs to like plant one of its acorns for it to like reproduce.
Yeah.
But the acorns that it's like trying to are just landing on the roof, so that every single one is a dead tree.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's like a constant reminder of like
Infertility,
and like its child is falling out of the sky and it's landing on the thing, and it's not going to be able to survive or whatever. So it's like constant imagery like that, and like there's a lot of stuff about like sex and violence. Like the sex scenes are always disturbing. They are never ever ever pleasant, because she's using sex as like a coping mechanism, as something that he literally says to her, like, oh, you're just using sex as a distraction, but it's only going to make it worse. But he still has sex with her. Like he knows that that's what she's doing, but he's still having sex with her.
You old dog.
And
that's when she crushes his balls, is it?
That's at the end, like the last time, because like eventually she's just like, I want you to hit me, and he's like, I'm not gonna hit you, because she wants like to get the shit kicked out of her while she's having sex, because they were having sex when the child fell, and she like, it's all about that. And he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. She wants like the sex becomes more violent throughout the film, until like they're having sex underneath a tree at one stage, and it like zooms up on like the back of on like his back, and then it zooms back out, and it's like it's the poster, and it's like bodies in the tree, but it's like the tree of life or the tree of knowledge or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like this distorted, fucked up version of it. And then so then she like mutilates him, and she then goes off and she gets a drill, and she drills a hole in his leg, and then she sticks like a weight basically through his leg so that he can't walk. And I only realized this today, that like earlier on in the film we find out that like when the autopsy comes back for the son, and one of the photos like, oh, he was just reading it, and it's like, oh, there's like everything was like standard for his death or whatever. Like then but they said like, oh, there's a bit of abnormality in his feet, where his feet were slightly deformed. And then you realize that when when she was there with the son a year beforehand, she was putting the wrong shoes on his feet on purpose. Like she was putting his left shoe on his right foot.
Yeah.
So she was like mangling his feet, and like,
oh, like those Chinese women.
Kind of more like his feet were like arching the wrong way, kind of, or something.
Oh, okay.
Like,
what's the significance of that?
Well, I think the significance is the fact that he got up and he walked and he fell out the fucking window. But the fact that like she makes it so that Willem Dafoe can't walk either by like what she's done. And I think there's something about like walking and like something along those lines. There's something there. I'm not sure, but I think there's something there.
But like monkeys and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know.
Standing upright.
Standing upright. Yeah. Oh yeah, I guess it is some not being able to stand upright, and like God and stuff like that, I assume.
Homo sapiens.
Yeah.
You know, standing up.
Something along those lines.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm not sure, it's like, it's interesting, but like it doesn't go really deeply into these ideas. And there's cool stuff about like maternal images and like, you know, the whole like trauma of like losing a child, which is obviously horrific.
Bad, yeah.
But like is a whole thing of like nature and all and stuff, and like things being natural, and everything that's going on is like complete, like it's not natural for, you know, parents to bury their child. It's not natural for, you know, parents to hate their child, like the way that like she and he doesn't really give a shit that his kid died. He like cares in one scene, and after the funeral he does not care at all. And he's just like, he like has turned his wife into like something to be studied, and he's like does not care. And the way that they edit it is really cool, because at the start of this, when he's sitting down, he's talking to her, it's edited like he's talking to himself nearly, because it breaks the 180 rule.
Yeah.
And like it's him talking to himself basically, because he does not give a shit about her whatsoever. And he's the one that tells her like, oh, you need to go out to the forest, where she's like, I don't want to go there. And he's like, well, you need to go out there because you need to face your fear. And like her fear consumes her, and
he's just being analytical,
and he's being analytical, and he's gaslighting her and everything.
He's calculating, where she's like in touch with nature. She's like, she gets it, or whatever,
she gets
intuitively.
It. She knows that something's wrong is in the forest, and she knows about Eden. She knows not to go back to Eden, basically.
Yeah, it's like, last time was pretty bad. Let's not go back there.
Last time didn't work out for us.
Yeah, but she's like, she knows it intuitively, where he's like trying to arrive at that eventually, but he's just trying to build up enough knowledge, something like that.
No, yeah, definitely. But there was a while when I was watching the film, I was like, is this misogynistic? Because like the way that the film, like, it's constantly talking about like nature is evil and nature is bad. And then we find out that she was trying to write a book, or like study something a year beforehand, and it was the witch trials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like she was learning about like how, you know, Christianity and like whatever religion like brutalized women, and like was like tortured women, and like viewed women as being evil. And then there's a line where she says like, women don't control their bodies, nature does. So if nature controls your body, and nature is evil and fucked up and really not good, what does that say about, you know, women? Like, what is that talking about there? And and then like and sure enough, yeah, she completely fucking brutalizes him. And there's a bit where like he escapes for a bit, and he runs away. He like slides himself away, and he hides himself in a hole, like, and is underground, which is like vaginal imagery. And he hides there.
Jungian imagery.
And when he goes into there, there's like a bird, like a baby bird or whatever, and the baby bird keeps squawking. So it's like nature is aiding the woman in harming this man. And he fucking batters the bird and like kills the bird, but then the bird keeps squawking again and leads her back to where he is, even though he's in the vagina trying to hide, basically, in the nature vagina.
In the nature vagina. That's a great turn of phrase. Is it like a Paradise Lost kind of thing, where it's like the bad guy is actually the good guy? Like, nature is evil, but like, or nature is satanic. Like, Satanism is like, or Satan was right, basically. Like,
yeah, I thought
the whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It
seems sort of like that.
I'm not sure.
Whereas the guy is like a symbol of like ordered Christianity or whatever, or like masculine sort of institutional, like the state or like the church or whatever.
Yeah.
Whereas like the woman's like completely like intuitive, completely like in touch with nature, which is beyond the realm of I don't know, the man's knowledge.
Yeah. It is definitely something like she's knowledgeable of things that he doesn't know about.
Yeah.
It is that thing where he says to her at one stage, he's just like, oh, because she's talking about like how evil women are, basically, and he turns to her as like, you've misinterpreted the information that you've been studying. You've looked at all these horrible things that men did to women and like projected evil onto them, but instead of seeing it as like what man has done to woman, you've just seen it as women being evil. So in a way, it's like we, the viewer, are doing that ourselves. We are projecting all this evilness onto her, even though that the real evil is coming from the man, because none of this shit would have happened and she wouldn't have been pushed this far if he just fucking left her alone. She just literally says to him like, don't make me your patient, and he says like, oh no, I can do it better than your doctor can. And then, you know, he then kills her at the end, and then he like hobbles off or whatever and like gets away, and then he's in the forest at the end, and it goes back into black and white and it's in slow motion, and a bunch of women come up to him in the forest. I think it's meant to be like a witches kind of, and you're not like, I read it as like these women coming to save him, more or less, because it's a collection of women coming to like help him and like get him out of this horrible situation. Like, witchcraft is the answer to the horribleness of like religion, kind of. And yeah, then it ends, and then the words "dedicated to Andrei Tarkovsky" come up on screen, and I sat there. I was like, "Why the fuck did you do that, Lars von Trier? Why is this dedicated to him?"
Did he die?
He died in 1989. This film came out 30 years later,
Tarkovsky?
or 20 years later.
Maybe that's a joke.
I don't know. I think it's meant to be like, because like Tarkovsky, Tarkovsky was like very religious in his things, and his things were like kind of praising religion, and this is like, I don't know, because this is like the reverse of that nearly. So it almost seems like an insult to Tarkovsky.
Well, Tarkovsky's more about spirituality, wasn't he? Like, he wasn't like a dogmatic.
It was like,
whereas like, isn't like the woman's spirituality versus the man's sort of I don't know how you'd word it, like orderliness. Like, he's dedicated to the institution, like the process and like the protocols of like psychiatry or like the church or whatever, where she's like just intuitively spiritual about it. Like, she's in touch with like the common experience of.
Yeah, but she knows that's something to be feared though as well. She's like, she's, because of that
like,
knowledge, she knows like, we need to get the fuck out of here.
I suppose, but like, isn't that she's sort of the good guy, isn't she?
I mean, she is
Like,
for a while, but then it just completely changes at the end.
Yeah, I haven't seen the film, but
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to make any sense.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I'm not sure, because like, it's a lot of mixed messages that's going on in the film, and it's like Freudian stuff that you can look into, because you then find out that at once she, like, when they were having sex, she actually looked up and she could see him climbing out the window.
Oh, but she left him.
She left him, and like when the kid hits the ground, like the two of them orgasm, like they climax at that stage.
That's fucked.
So
that's just really unpleasant.
Yeah, it's really, really unpleasant film. It's a horrible film. It's not enjoyable at all. Yeah. And like the way that it depicts horrible. The way that it depicts depression. Oh my! They're like, it was a horrible like suffering to watch. And there's a bit where like she self harms, so she hits her head off the toilet because she's bawling her eyes out, and it was like I proper jolted because I wasn't expecting it, and like it was the most affecting use of violence to like stir like emotion out of you, because all the rest of it is just really, really fucking gross.
Yeah.
Whereas that like use of violence was like actually effective in like getting emotion out of you. All the rest of it was like, well, that's really gross, and I get what you're doing with the whole genital mutilation. Lars von Trier. They were having sex and their kid died, so now they can't have kids anymore.
Yeah, jeez, that's hard to wrap your head around.
It's hard to wrap your head around, and it's never clear. Like, I don't really know what he was talking about, and like I have a bunch of notes.
Yeah, there's a lot of notes right here. Like, that's so extensive. Fair play, but.
Oh yeah, there's a thing as well where like he's talking to her and he's like talking about it from a fucking analytical perspective, and he says to her, she's talking about like having anxiety and stuff like that, and he's like, well, anxiety can't make you do things that you wouldn't normally do. It's like being hypnotized. Someone can't hypnotize you to do something that wouldn't be in your nature. So he's talking about like, he basically says like he basically explains like, whatever happens in this film, it's in her nature. Like she would have done this anyway. She has the capability to crush her husband's balls.
Yeah, what? Well, that's like, I don't know. That's like one of those mad artsy jokes.
It's an extremely artsy film, and you see what I mean? When, like,
is that's not a Dogma 95 film, though, is it? No. Well, that's obviously not.
I don't know the Dogma 95 manifesto. I don't think it is though.
Yeah, because Dogma 95 is all about unsimulated realism, stuff like that, which I imagine wouldn't have been pleasant.
But let me tell you, the violence.
If that was unsimulated, yeah. Yeah, that's fucked.
Yeah, thematically, it completely loses me, because I'm like, I keep flip flopping in between, like, is it misogynistic or not? Because
it's 2009, you know.
Yeah, but
different
like the
time.
whole thing, that the fact that he says like, oh yeah, but like, you're projecting like these evils onto the women, when the women themselves aren't evil. Like, that was something projected onto them by men.
So he's defending the women, isn't he?
But you yourself are doing that, Lars von Trier. So like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I flip flop back and forth between whether or not like it actually works or not.
Why don't these people just make their films like simpler? You know, just have a simple message that everyone can understand. You know, like what's the need to be like? Well, I don't know what it means. You figure it out.
How do you feel about the film? I feel like you hate women.
yeah, exactly. Like, just say what you're gonna say.
Yeah,
that seems a bit. I haven't watched it now, but I probably won't watch it though. Cause it's
maybe
just
watch up until
The ball Christian
the
scene.
ball Christian scene. That's
Yeah.
actually because that happens really suddenly, and you'll wince. You go, ooh, but it's not that bad,
Yeah.
and then you can just stop there, and then you can just watch the end. You can just fast forward to the end because he
Yeah.
man, I'm pretty sure that they actually did strangle like Charlotte to do with the bit because her eyes are proper popping out when he's like strangling her. So I think they
God.
actually did strangle her for a bit.
God, that's that's weird.
It's really weird. It's really weird.
Yeah, that's not Dogma 95 at all, is it?
No,
But,
but like Lars von Trier wrote this while he was in hospital because of a depressive episode.
Oh, okay.
So he wrote this, in the pits of depression.
That's a bit weird. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
and it's part of his unofficial depression trilogy.
Depression trilogy.
Mhm.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm gonna stick that on later tonight.
Melancholy is the second one, and
Yeah.
then Nymphomaniac Volume 1 and 2 are the final part
Nymphomaniac.
Yeah.
That was on
on Netflix.
Netflix.
My
yeah.
dad knocked it on, not knowing what it was. And he's like, my dad was like, "What?" I was like, because we were on like the family Netflix, and it's like Nymphomaniac. I was like, "Who the fuck was watching that?" Because I knew
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah.
It was years ago. My dad was like, "Yeah, I started watching it. It was like porn." I was like, "Yeah, I'm not surprised." And he's like, "Yeah, I just stopped watching after 15 minutes."
Yeah, all the I've never seen it, but I know the posters are it's just all the actors with, like orgasm faces.
Orgasm faces.
Yeah, it's like why?
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 Why'd you need to do that?
Why did you need to do that, Lars? Absolute visionary by all accounts. But what was he? I don't know.
Yeah, like on a technical aspect, it is amazing. Like the camera work is like this blend of like handheld, almost documentary style, filmmaking, like during like these really intimate moments of like the two of them, like him kind of trying to like relate to her and like help her out, kind of, but there's such a gap between them. And like her severe depression because of what happened. The film is so pretentious as well. The film starts with prologue, then has chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4, and then an epilogue. Like the film is so pretentious.
No need.
And
no
like
need.
each chapter is like grief, and then it's pain, and then it's like one of them is called like fucking genocide, and then
Genocide.
and then the last one's like chaos reigns. I don't know what that has to do. Well, I get to like
Mystifying to me. It's just I wouldn't get it, but
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I like parts of it. I like certain readings of it, but there's so much going on in the film that there's a lot of readings going on. I just dabbed. But yeah,
love it.
I don't know.
That's just too much.
It is.
You know.
And it's really violent. Oh my god, this is like one of the most brutal things I've ever seen.
Yeah. I don't like violent movies, but that's just the way it is, you know. Sure, what he's done other stuff though, hasn't he? Besides that, like what was
Dogville and stuff like that.
Dogville, yeah, and I don't know.
Dancers in the Dark,
Which
Lars von Trier is not a great dude either.
Yeah, because that Dogma 95 stuff that was from 95, that was from the 90s, and all this depression trilogy and stuff. That's all that last 10 years, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So he did something. And we're absolute plebs for not knowing what it is on a movie podcast, but
yeah, Dogma 95. I don't even know I don't know what the thesis is. Dogma 95.
Herzog did a Dogma film with Harmony Korine, Julian Donkey Boy. Well worth the watch.
Is it good?
Very, very good. That's the only reason I know like anything about it, like the whole manifesto, because Julian Donkey Boy is just like all the sound is diegetic, which is like a really fancy term for it's just anything that isn't literally within the film isn't heard.
Yeah.
So there's no like score or whatever, and there's no
that was a good film study. I remember that module we did.
Diegetic sound.
It was such a pretentious way to say like it's just if there's an instrument playing in the scene, that's where the music's coming from.
Yeah. Just like no piano track or whatever, like over a happy scene. But
there's
like,
no changes like in Shrek 2.
Yeah, there's no Shrek is just silent. There's just like long sequences where people are just doing things. But there's that part, and then everything is I think something about the environment as well. All the sets are like taken from the environment, and there's no like artificial sets and stuff like that. And Julian Donkey Boy is filmed on like a VHS. It's all video, and it's really like sort of DIY style. And yeah, Werner Herzog is in it, and it's really good. It's very good. It has like your man Spud from Trainspotting is Julian Donkey Boy.
Oh yeah.
And Chloe Savini is his sister. And
he kind of looks like the kid from Gummo.
Yeah. That's pretty why he was cast. Yeah. You look a bit fucked up. Like, do you want to star in my movie? And
my weird movie.
Yeah, Werner Herzog is in it. Yeah, but it's also worth watching.
Yeah, it is like that as well. Because I'm pretty sure, like, because most of like basically all the film in Antichrist is like in the woods, basically. So I don't know how I don't know how much to praise the film for like having like no continuity errors and stuff like that when it's shot in the fucking woods.
Yeah, it's
Like,
shot
how
in
can-
one location.
How can you fuck up like the props there when the trees are there and all? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's also a cool thing. There's a really good line where like they're talking about like nature being, because he's seeing nature being outside, and she's like, no, or like, how much is it? Yeah, he's like, nature is outside, and then she's like, no, it's not, it's also inside. And then he's like, oh well, yeah, the nature of man within man. And like, it's basically like all this fucked up shit. It doesn't even have to be a woman, it could have just been reversed, whatever. But like, nature is in both man and woman, and
Yeah.
like, we're all capable of mutilating our husbands' cocks.
That's the moral takeaway.
That's the moral takeaway. That's the own hot take.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like the most reasonable takeaway from that film.
Mm.
You know, the
It's almost
outside.
generous reading you could have of it.
Yeah, everything's just an expression of the outside of nature. You know,
Mm.
so you know we're not above nature. We're not apart from nature.
No, we're
You
part
know,
of it.
We're part of it. You know, we're right
So is
there.
God, and so's
God. So's that fox.
that human tree thing that was going on in the film.
Yeah. And the oak tree.
Why would you dedicate that film to Andre? Like that, I literally sat there. I was like, why would you? I actually hit pause. Like, what the fuck does that mean?
Hit pause at the credits.
What? I don't know. I literally like, what the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
I don't know what. It's like just thrown in at the end.
That sort of sounds like a joke, like something he'd do.
It was so out of nowhere. I was like,
Yeah.
what? Anyway.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
it's fucked.
another film that makes me go, what the fuck? Shrek 3.
Oh, we're going at it.
We're going at it.
Shrek 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched this. We're doing two. It's a two-parter though. This
This
isn't.
is the double bill.
This is an exclusive extended episode.
We're greening now for this.
Yeah, we're going green for this one. Yeah, Shrek 3, Shrek the Third, as it's
Shrek
actually
the Third.
the actual title. What a bad movie!
What
What a
terrible
disaster!
film.
What a complete capitulation of everything that was accomplished in the first two.
No.
It's like a desecration. This is like the Antichrist of Shrek films. You
Yeah.
know? It's like they might as well have a fucking log and crush Shrek's balls on screen. It's just
They should have just
shocking.
thrown him at the window.
Yeah, the baby ogres fall out the window.
Oh,
Nah,
Yeah.
it's fucked up.
it's
There's-
not
The
good.
baby ogres are my biggest. They're barely in this,
They're at the end.
but they're so disturbing.
Yeah.
And wait, the donkey dragons,
The drunkies.
the dronkies. It's actually addressed in Shrek 4 how disturbing they are. Donkey says something about it. He's like, are they cute or do they just disturb people?
But like,
it's in the parallel
they're-
universe.
they're so chaotic. Like, they are constantly making a mess. Anytime they're on screen,
The dronkies.
they're like setting fire to something or knocking shit over or just pissing people off, like they piss off the audience.
Yeah. They're like the Scrappy Doos of the Shrek.
They're the minions.
Yeah, the minions. Yeah, they're the minions before the minions were minions. It's really weird. Justin Timberlake in this film.
So many questions. I have
Why?
why?
Why? John Oliver is Merlin, I believe.
No, it's not. It's another Monty Python guy, I think.
Oh my god, Eric Idle, I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought he sounds very similar.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
But Merlin is shite in this film as well. He's not funny
So
at all.
unfunny.
He's not
Oh.
funny. He's like, oh, he's a stoner kind of wizard, weird hippie guy.
So bad.
That's not funny. Like that hasn't been funny for decades.
It's just not wearing trousers.
Yeah. Oh,
It's just a crazy old man that lives in the woods.
he's so crazy.
And it's like oh god, right. So right.
Right.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. We'll get to Merlin,
We're
right?
way ahead of ourselves.
Because this film starts off with Prince Charming, right? And it's like, oh yeah, it's like a retelling of the second one. You're doing a callback to the second film because it's like, you know, it's Prince Charming riding through the woods, and then it zooms out, and Prince Charming for somehow is acting. I don't know why he's acting, but he's acting, and everyone's there, and I don't understand why the fuck Prince Charming wasn't locked up for like all the horrendous shit he did in Shrek 2.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah, how is he not executed?
have
or
no
something?
idea.
Yeah, they tried to kill Shrek. Why didn't they just kill him?
yeah, fuck it. Anyway, and like alright, I think one of the worst things about Shrek the Third is the music is so bad. The music is nowhere near. There's not one song that is as good as any song in Shrek 1 and Shrek 2.
So disappointing. So disappointing. Do we have like a soundtrack that we can like reference?
Do you want to pull it
Yeah,
up?
let's pull up the soundtrack. See if I remember anything. Oh, live and let die, live and let die. Nah.
That's
Shouldn't have
during
been.
the funeral, isn't it?
Yeah. Why is
I
that in there?
hate that. That's like
There's no gravitas, no emotional. Like
thank you.
the fucking Shrek's dad has just died.
Yeah.
Fiona's dad, you know, and there's a big like emotional death scene.
It's not even emotional though. It's done as a joke.
No, but I mean beforehand, like as he's dying. Oh,
No,
actually, no, yeah,
his-
he
his-
comes back alive.
His death is a joke.
Yeah. He's like,
He fakes out. You know what's funny?
that. What?
You know what's funny?
What
when
was
you
it?
when you do one joke and then you do it 2 more times.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I sort of laughed when like
The first time.
the third time he came back.
You mean
I
when he's
don't-
actually dead?
No, because he did it 3 times, didn't he? I laughed one of them anyway, but then he actually dies, and everyone's like, oh, but like you can't relate to these people because you just it is a
wasn't-
joke.
He wasn't in the and he wasn't in it at that stage. Like this is the first time you see him is that he's dying. Which actually that's a funny line where like Shrek is like he's pissed off and he wants to go home after like it just repeatedly shows how shit of a king Shrek would be.
Yeah.
And all that shit. None of that is actually funny. None of the shit that it shows is funny whatsoever, except for when like Shrek straight up murders a dude with the fucking trying to knight him, and he just
Oh yeah, that is funny.
Jesus. Anyway,
I thought the bit with the boat was pretty funny, but
it just sets on fire. I was like, what the fuck?
yeah, the way it just burst into flames. But I thought that was sort of funny. But like the funeral of King, whatever his name is, the king. They're there singing "Live and Let Die."
And it's not
It's not a funeral song.
It's what was the word that we just talked about within the scene?
Diegetic.
It's diegetic because there's a bunch of frogs fucking singing the song.
Why? It's like, is that in his will? Sing fucking Paul McCartney at my funeral? Because if it wasn't, then that's just like so like off. It's like just like
He's in a shoebox as well.
Yeah, it's just like tone deaf. Yeah, he's in the what was it? Like Night Locker or something like that.
It's not, Mark.
It's not funny.
It's not even It's not even that good of a pun. It's
Yeah.
that's actually a better pun than what's on the box.
It's one of those Simpsons pun, like the new Simpsons puns.
Mm.
This film is basically like a film. It's the Shrek version of like Simpsons season like 15 to 35 or whatever. It's like there's even has that shit pun, like the way the Simpsons have like my phone
Mm-hmm.
or Maple and stuff like that. Like just completely effortless, boring, unfunny puns that were supposed to that were supposed to pass as jokes, and like that's what this film is full of.
Constant.
Whereas the first two had like illusions and like parodies, and it was sort of like subverting.
But it wasn't in your face as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was subverting the genre, whereas this one just sort of completely capitulates to the genre. Like the whole story is just like completely ripped out of like a soap opera or something,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's no subversion anymore. It's just like, do you get it? That's like Foot Locker.
Yeah.
It's like that's it.
But I
That's the
hate the
joke.
fact that the king's death has no emotion whatsoever because the song that they use is so tonally off, and his actual death itself is meant to be a joke. And like, there's no emotion in the death of the king. A great character in the first film who had a great arc he's a joke in this film.
He just dies.
And then it's just like Artie. Oh my god, Justin Timberlake, fuck me.
So bad.
There's a reason why he is not mentioned in Shrek 4. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Not even a nod towards Artie being king. No, not mentioned once.
Yeah. That's a load of bollocks.
Oh yeah, I actually do like the baby nightmare though.
The baby nightmare.
Where like Shrek is like, he finds out that like Fiona's pregnant, and he's like having this like fever dream of all these babies coming through his house and all, and he's like trying to save them all.
Yeah.
Like that's genuinely like stressful.
Mm.
And then they ruin it with him waking up, and then he looks over at Donkey, and they're like, da.
Oh yeah.
Like that went. I didn't like that, but like everything beforehand, like I like that. I liked all the babies coming through, all the weird ogre babies. They're horrible. They're horrible.
So fucked up. They're so ugly. It's horrible.
It's horrible.
Well,
It's horrible.
I object to the whole thing of like, because most of the film is basically about Shrek becoming a dad.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like that's the most low effort. Like it's like they sat around in a room. Oh no, they went into fucking the Friends writers' room. Or like, what should we do for the next Shrek film? They're like, oh man, make Shrek a dad, or like. What if Shrek regretted all his choices? Or like, what if Shrek had a different job or something like that? And then they're like, we'll make movies out of all these like completely pointless, boring, unoriginal storylines. I just didn't find any of that like.
It's not compelling.
It's not compelling. It's like Shrek being a dad. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? It's like
That's no way. Like
that's
it's
not
gonna
why
be
I
good
watched
at
Shrek.
all.
Yeah, it's not why I watched Shrek originally. You know, but it's just
And all the bits were like, oh god, when he goes to the fucking high school, none of that is good. It's all shit, and I don't understand. Like
that could have been good. That
it
could have been really
great.
good. Yeah,
like
yeah,
there's so much potential there,
yeah.
and like I like the way like Artie is such a nerd or such a loser. He's not even a nerd. He's
He's a loser for no reason.
no one likes him. He's
Yeah.
not, I don't even understand why everyone hates him.
He's just bullied for no reason. Yeah,
Even the teachers bully him.
yeah. It's like why? Like at least, like they could have made him like a nerd or something, like some little ugly kid or whatever.
But like he just looks like everyone else.
Yeah, he just looks like he's just like, yeah, he looks the exact same as everybody
he
else.
Is literally just he is a normal person.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's just taking the piss out of like he's a bit of a weenie, but like he's not that bad.
He's a bit of a klutz.
Yeah,
That's about it. You know?
I don't understand the Artie hate except for I don't understand the Artie hate within the school.
Within the universe.
Within the universe, but outside the universe, I fucking hate Artie, and
Yeah.
I'm glad he got bullied.
Yeah, I wish he was bullied more outside the universe. You know?
He's so shit. And like that's something I like remember in Shrek 2 where like Shrek is he's walking around the room and he's realizing that like Fiona wanted, she was a human and she wanted a human Prince Charming, someone handsome. And Shrek's like, oh, I'm not good enough. But he's lying on the bed and he looks up and there's a Justin Timberlake poster or whatever. And Justin Timberlake plays Fiona's cousin. What's going on there, Shrek? What's Shrek universe? What?
Well, that's just the way royalty goes.
Yeah, I was gonna
isn't
say.
it? Yeah, that's just the way it happens, you know? Get with your cousin.
But like, yeah. And like Prince Charming in the film, like what he is doing, I think this is also a problem. Like what Prince Charming is doing in the film has nothing to do with what Shrek is doing. It's completely disjointed. Like in Shrek 1, Farquaad sends him off to fucking get Fiona. He's the one that initiates whatever to happen. Shrek 2, same again. Like Fairy Godmother is the one that's like causing the tension within like the king and stuff like that, and the king hates Shrek because of all this stuff. Shrek 3, Prince Charming doesn't even know where Shrek is when he shows up. He's like, where's Shrek? And they're like, oh, he's off in the other kingdom trying to get the other king.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
like it wouldn't make a difference if Shrek was there or not.
Yeah, it's like there's like two competing storylines, you know, for no reason.
For no reason.
They could have stuck with one: Shrek becoming a dad, Charming taking the throne, and the quest to find Artie. Like they're three plots that wouldn't actually fill up a full film, but you could have elaborated them and to make them each like a single film. But
even if you just expanded a little bit more and like the king stuck around for a bit more or whatever, and like Shrek goes off to find Artie before the king dies, and then Prince Charming shows up and he's like, where's Shrek? And he's like, oh, he's off trying to get Artie, and it's a race to try and get Artie. Maybe that could have worked.
yeah, that's a way better idea. How did they not think of that's such an obvious like how did they not think of that? Because this film cost hundreds of millions to make, and they're sitting there scratching their holes going, oh, we'll just keep them all plots are separate in this.
All plots are separate.
Nothing comes together.
And it makes so much sense that, like there's no like travel. Everything cuts in between movements. Like they're on the ship and then it cuts and they're at Merlin's house and they literally skip the travel. They literally it's like, we're not even gonna ask getting used there. You're just gonna fucking teleport there because we need this film to fucking end.
We want this to end as much as you do. I hate the way Donkey and Puss just switch bodies for no reason.
It was like it's like Shrek 2 in a way. It's like, oh, body stuff is going on.
Whoa, it's first of all, it's not funny. Second of all, it's just like
it's irrelevant. It makes no difference to anything.
Yeah, it doesn't make a difference. It's like it's completely out of nowhere. It doesn't have any impact on the rest of the plot. It's just stupid. And yeah, it's just not funny, which is the worst part. There's so much you could do there.
There's so much you could do there.
If it actually made sense, you know.
Even like oh god, and I like fucking hell. The bit where like the princesses are like storming the castle. Now,
oh yeah, that's a good part.
Right? Let's not compare it to Shrek 2's storming of the castle because it's not fair,
God, yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's not fair.
That's not fair.
But like, it starts off with the immigration song, and then it just stops, and it's a completely different song after that. Then, and the song that they use is like, what the fuck is it? It's like, what the fuck is it called? Like bar something. What the fuck is it called? Barracuda.
Barracuda.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah. Like that's Barracuda's a big song, but like they should have just stuck at one song.
I don't know why it changes.
Like, yeah. Like as I was saying, it's like it's like the Simpsons thing, like the new Simpsons, where they have an episode. They used to have these great musical numbers where you have a full song and it'd be meaningful to the plot, and all the characters get involved, and it just like it makes sense as part of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, you watch a new episode of The Simpsons and there's a montage and it's 5 seconds long, and there's like a 5-second clip of like a song in it. I was like, there's no reason to have that there. Like that's what that sequence was. It was like two songs mixed into this like sort of like it could have been a good sequence, but like it's
I think
chopped
it would have
up.
been so much better if it was just immigration song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you just stayed focused instead of being like, oh, people are only gonna watch this for 5 seconds. Let's just move on. You know,
It's
like
literally
it's the main part of this sequence of the film.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's just. You know what? It's getting a bit boring. Like 10 seconds into immigration song, let's
It's
get a
not
new
even- it's
song.
just- they literally go like and then that's it. It's done. For like
Yeah,
for that
yeah.
one joke where like Snow White is like out in the woods, whatever, with all the animals, and then she just turns
Yeah, stupid.
and like
What were they thinking?
I don't understand as well as like when they actually do arrive to Shrek and save Shrek, and they all come bust in like the Avengers, and all the squads like meet up or whatever, and the pigs come on and like a sausage roll, and they come rolling in and all, and then they're all ready to fight. And then immediately give up because everyone, like, all the bad guys just jump up on stage like, oh shit, we weren't ready. It's like, what the fuck? What was the point? You bursting onto the scene.
Yeah.
And the way that the enemy, like, all the villains change is because Artie literally is just like to them, be who you want to be. And that's it. He just says one line. It's like, it's not even a proper speech. And all the villains like, yeah, you know what? He's right. I don't want to be a bad guy anymore.
Yeah, don't be a bad guy. It's like, oh, what? Yeah. That makes so much sense.
It's so lazy.
Stop being bad guys. They're like, whoa, I never thought of that. You know? It's so stupid.
It's so lazy, and it's like they didn't know how to write the scene, so they just like threw in this shit line. It's like, oh, Artie hasn't done anything in this film at all except for being a wiener, so we gotta fucking make him have this half-ass speech where he doesn't actually say really anything, and then oh yeah, like that's it, and then Prince Charming gets straight up murdered.
Yeah.
The dragon has killed 2 people, like canonically killed 2 people in these films now.
The dragon is the revolutionary subject of the Shrek universe.
She's too powerful.
Yeah, why doesn't she just become queen? Like, you know,
She's too. I think I mentioned this last episode, but last episode. I like the way like in Shrek 2 they gonna have to like they have to write her out of like of the film, because if she was there, she would just solve all the problems. And again, like this. She just shows up and she just fucking kills. She just knocks a tower for no reason onto Prince Charming.
Yeah.
Like he's given up as well. He's like, oh, like he's unarmed. He's given up, and Shrek's like, oh yeah, whatever, I'll leave you. And then the dragon murders him for no reason.
That's what they should have done in Shrek 2. Like,
oh god.
Yeah, but the dragon is definitely like the kingmaker in this entire series.
The King Slayer.
Yeah, the King Slayer twice killed 2 kings. You can say that.
Not I. And like that's the thing as well. Like Prince Charming, he's so not a threat in the film because he's such a fucking idiot.
Yeah, he's not like. Yeah, that's another problem. Like he was already established as like incompetent in the first one, and like he's in the second one, and he's totally reliant on the fairy godmother.
Yeah.
To get his place as, or not even to get a chance at kissing Fiona.
Yeah.
Like he's not even the king or even the prince. Or he's just the prince in the second one. But like in this one, we're supposed to believe he can lead a revolution against the crown because he walked into a bar with a lot of villains in it. It's like,
and he's like, I'm just like you guys.
It's like, what?
What the fuck? How are you this genius mastermind?
Yeah.
And I don't understand why he wants to do the play thing either. Like I know it ties into the start of the film.
Yeah.
But I don't know why he would even want to do that.
That was really cruel. That's just cruel.
It's just cruel.
Yes.
And it just backfires him because he just gets the piss taken out of him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And everyone laughs. Even his entourage laughs at him and stuff like that. I was like, you're like, even the film itself doesn't take him seriously. So why the fuck should we, as the audience, take this dude seriously? Because like Farquaad's barely in the first one, but he is a threat. Like he does.
Yeah. Plus he's the incumbent as well. Like he already has power.
Yeah.
Whereas Prince Charming has to seize power at the start of the film. Whereas he also has to be like completely incompetent and like a joke to everyone around him. It doesn't add up. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, not a good film.
It's stupid.
I put my rating down onto my notes if I could pull them up again. What's
our?
Oh wait, there's also one thing I want to mention about Prince Charming. I can't even put into words how much I hate how him and Rapunzel, like, they're a thing, whatever. And like she says, "Oh, are you actually gonna kill them?" And like, he just turns to me, he's like, "They don't annoy Daddy when he's working, whatever." I can't put into words how much I hate the fact that he gets like his girlfriend to call him Daddy when he calls his mom Mommy. There's something going on there, and I don't like it. I don't like what's going on with Prince Charming.
He's riding the fairy godmother. Well, she's dead, to be fair.
Oh, I don't like it at all.
She's dead. That's why I needed Rapunzel.
Yeah. All right. So I would actually rate. I was actually talking with this film. I had it written down as two dead frog kings out of 5, but I actually think this film might be a 1.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, we're gonna go with a 1. It definitely in terms of the series.
One dead frog king.
1, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's abysmal. It's
the worst. Maybe the worst film ever made
within the Shrek universe.
Yeah.
Like, Merlin's just not fucking funny.
He's not funny at all. He could have been funny, but he isn't.
And
I don't know what they're thinking.
But that's all like really forced as well. Like him being involved is like, we don't know what to do. Right, here's Merlin.
Yeah, I like how though. He's like his little gaff in wherever he lives. Like the stone thing is like a dolmen tomb. It's the markings on the outside of his gaff. The markings from Newgrange.
There you go.
Pretty much exactly the same. So
it's a 5 out of 5 films.
So Merlin lives in Meath. It's a fact. So that's boosted up to by about 3 or 4 dead kings, dead frog kings. No, but I just noticed that. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah. But no, yeah, one dead frog king out of 5. Absolutely, that's a very, very suitable.
Yeah, I think
rating.
So. And then we got Shrek 4, Shrek Forever After.
Oh, Jesus. What do you think?
I think it's the black sheep of the quadrilogy.
Absolutely, especially because it's not really relevant to any other story.
No,
it has basically nothing to do with the previous 3 films.
Well, it's like, I think it's
more like it's a morality tale.
Well, I think it's a morality tale, but I think it's like Shrek, like, Shrek 2, he finally accepts fully who he is, and then Shrek 3 is whatever the fuck is going on in Shrek 3, and then Shrek 4 is years later, and he's just like, I mean, I like who I am, but what if do I want to be what I originally was? Do I want to be an ogre?
Do I want to be an ogre? But like, it's like that film, It's a Wonderful Life. It's just that.
Oh yeah, it's just a wonderful life, like,
but with ogres.
But with ogres.
But in fucking far, far away. It's just, I know I said beforehand that it's somehow worse than the third one. I understand where you're coming from. I'll probably retract that statement. But the fact, it's maybe marginally better than the third one, but that only speaks to how bad the third one is.
One is dog shit.
How bad Shrek the Third is. I really did not like Shrek Forever After.
Really?
I did not like it at all. I don't think it's funny. I think it goes absolutely nowhere. It doesn't accomplish anything.
I don't think it's trying to be funny though. I think it's trying to be like more dramatic and darker, and I appreciate the film for being that.
Yeah, it's trying to be darker in like in the most tame way possible.
He's gonna die, Mark.
Shrek's gonna die. What's gonna happen here? Oh no. Yeah, he survives, obviously. It's basically he goes into a parallel universe where nothing really matters, like,
What do you mean everything? It's not a parallel universe. This is like, he has changed the universe. He's changed the world entirely, which is like, that's cool. Like the influence that like Shrek actually has in existing. Like, that's how much he matters.
Yeah. He's basically the king of that universe.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like how the fact it's like it kind of acknowledges how Shrek is transcended from being just a character in a film to being like a cultural icon. Like the whole thing with like, do the roar,
I like that.
I didn't like it at all. I think that part is funny. I think that whole sort of the whole sort of bit is funny, but like, I don't like the fact that they reference his fame. I think that's just takes it out of it.
I like that. I like the way that like, it's like Shrek himself is pissed off at being this icon, being this meme in like inside the universe and outside the universe, and like, it's like he's so fed up with it that he just wants to. He's just like, what if Shrek 1 never happened? Would my life be even better?
Imagine you said that. What if Shrek 1 never happened?
Imagine he said that.
That would have been something. I would have loved this film. if it did something like that, some sort of metafictional
Like,
tale.
like he literally like goes up to like
He looks at the camera.
Rumpelstiltskin is like, I just want Shrek 1 to never have happened.
He's like, what? All right.
Well, I love that bit, like Rumpelstiltskin is just like he's just like, oh, like what day do you want me to take? And he's like, oh, I'll take the day I met Donkey. I'd love if that never happened. And Rumpelstiltskin's like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, because Donkey's just like a nobody in that universe. He's just like
he's just
guy.
a sidekick.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think it improves on a lot of things from Shrek 3. Like, Rumpelstiltskin is like, he's a menace. Like, he's actually a force to be reckoned with. He essentially has won, because he's lived in this world since like whenever like Fiona's parents like signed the contract, whatever. He has been living the life since then.
No, it's not like that, is it? No, because they signed the contract. But then they ripped it up once they found out Shrek had...
But when Shrek signs the contract and he doesn't exist, and then like, so the timeline is like Shrek was never born, so then it comes up to the point where Shrek's the King and the Queen signed the contract and they don't exist. So from that point on, from that moment in Shrek, from the start of Shrek 1, he has been living the life up until Shrek 4.
I thought it was only one day.
No, I think it's like the timeline. So that's why everything has gone to shit so bad, because he has been king since whenever the timeline is. I don't know what the timeline is, but like
the Shrek lore.
The Shrek lore. I don't know how much time has passed, but like between like that moment and now, he has just been living it up, and he literally says, Shrek, I've been waiting for you," because Shrek is just coming back this day, but this is a day within the universe of Rumpelstiltskin being king. So he has essentially won up until that point.
Yeah, that's what I sort of thought it was as well. But then at the end, spoiler alert, obviously, when Shrek is like dying, but then he gets true love's first kiss and things start to fall apart. Like, that universe collapses. I would have thought that like maybe Shrek gets transported back into his universe.
No, it's like he's a time traveler.
Yeah, but. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really get it.
I think it's a time travel thing.
It's one of those paradoxes, you know?
Yeah, it's
the Shrek
like,
paradox.
You know that thing where like that idea where time is like an ongoing stream?
Yeah, linear time.
A linear time, but like you can just hop in between different timelines. So he's hopped into this timeline.
Yeah, but then he destroys that timeline. I would have thought that would have kept going.
No, he died. Like, that timeline's done. It's just like reverses back into what the original timeline. I guess.
So it's like a little oxbow lake.
Mm-hmm. A little oxbow lake, yeah. Nice little genius or geography there.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe that makes more sense, because I watched this on like 1.5 speed on Netflix.
Fair.
So I probably missed a little bit.
Fair.
But fair. I don't think I disagree with the idea that Rumpelstiltskin is formidable. I think he's just like he's like a fucking deals Farquaad, you know. He's like a bargain bin Farquaad.
He's better than Farquaad. Farquaad's
barely...
barely...
Farquaad's way more villainous than Rumpelstiltskin. Because Rumpelstiltskin's a loser at the start. He's established as a loser. Even when he's talking to Shrek and Shrek signs his contract, he's like basically begging him to stay.
God, that bit is awful. His feet coming out of his shoes and he's scrunched like, sign it, Shrek.
Yeah. I don't like him as a villain. I like him as a villain. I don't think he has any threat. You know, where's the threat?
I think the threat is that like if you fall into his trap, like he will win. Like he will. I don't like Farquaad, because Farquaad just has power, but. You know, Rumpelstiltskin has. If you sign my contract, you're fucked. Like, you're gone. Like, I'm gonna win. If I can just get you to sign this, that's it. Game over, bro. Game over, man.
Yeah.
That was terrible. Fucking. Why would you even bother having a way out of those contracts? Why would he even have something like True Love's Kiss?
Yeah, sure. He always has a clause, you know, just like in the original tale.
But see, that's how. I like the way that this, as like the ending of the saga, ties into the other two in a really nice way, because it's like True Love's Kiss, because True Love's Kiss is in the first one, it's in the second one, and then it's just not in the third one, but then it's back into the fourth one.
Yeah, it is. It's like their love overcomes, you know, even the most dastardly of traps, of Rumpelstiltskin's traps.
What I don't like though is, you know, when Fiona does kiss him,
yeah,
you know, in Shrek 1 when she kisses him, she like flows into the air and like light bursts out of her. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, that's not really true love, is it? It's more like it's lust. It's like infatuation. That's not gonna last. But I also, one thing I really hated was like the elaboration of the ogre kind of population. The way they fucking play in bands and stuff, and they have like cooks. Man, that really annoyed me.
Oh, I love
That
bit.
was so stupid.
I love the bit where he has his little car and he's just like, go on, do your little speech, and I was just gonna. I love that bit.
It's just
Cookie.
like, and then they're playing in a band at the end, so it's like, why? What's
That's
the point?
I
of
don't
that?
like how like when you return to the original timeline that like now the ogres are there and they somehow are like best mates with Shrek. I don't understand how at all. That's just stupid.
He was like he like internalized his own racism, but then this is all like a way for him to figure out that like all ogres are actually the same, and he comes back and he's like, oh, I love you guys, but like that's never acknowledged. That's not actually what it's about, you know.
There's aspects of the film that I do like. A lot of aspects, like I like the way like you know, with like Fiona has been like living with her trauma in this world where like she's all fucked up because of it, and she's internalized all this hatred for everyone around her because no one came to save her. So she's like, fuck it, I have to do it by myself and get out, and she hates everyone for it because no one cared about her enough to come and save her. Which I wonder, what does she think happened to her mom and dad?
Yeah. I suppose she doesn't care.
Yeah, so she's like, oh, they just left me there.
They sold her out, basically.
Yeah, well, actually, yeah, because they locked her in the tower. It's like, they just locked me in the tower and they left me there.
This is the most radical Fiona we'll ever see in the Shrek universe. She's her own woman. She does what she wants.
They call each other comrades as well in the little
She's
army.
a communist revolutionary. She's an ogre revolutionary. And it's pretty inspiring. It's a lot of girl power.
A lot of girl power.
So, you know, following on from Shrek 3, which had that sort of
awful girl power scene.
Yeah, the awful sort of siege scene. But this one's supposed like it's all about Fiona. Like she's like the little queen of this band of revolutionaries, and it's pretty cool because like as you're watching it, you have this sort of rolling backstory in your head, like how she arrived at this. But it's never really explained. I like how they never really explain it in the film.
Yeah, what happened to the dragon?
Yeah.
I thought
like, how'd she get out of the castle?
I forgot that the dragon like is actually in this film, and I was like, oh shit, she killed the dragon. She fucking butchered the dragon. That's how strong she is.
Yeah, how'd she get out? Because it would have been very easy to like explain that, but they didn't. I like that. But the rest of it, I don't know. Like even Puss doesn't need to be in this film.
No, he doesn't. I think Puss would be better off if he's just not in this film.
Donkey could have been done way better. Like Donkey's just the same. He's the exact same. He's just a bit like hairier. They could have done something with that.
He doesn't look good in this film.
He does not look good. He's a bit rough around the edges.
But this is the best looking one, I think. Like and like actually,
yeah.
Actually, to Shrek 3's credit, it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, well, it's not hard to look bad when you have all the technology. Yeah, this one looks a lot better. Even Shrek looks pretty sexy.
I'd fuck him.
But
there's no music in this one really.
Oh, they have like the Carpenters and stuff.
I actually
top of the world.
At the end of Shrek 4, they have this like really, they reincorporate
Accidentally in Love, yeah.
No, not Accidentally in Love. What the fuck was it from the first one? Hallelujah. That
really?
that plays in like on a piano in the background as like Shrek is just like, you know what the best part of the day was? I got to fall in love with you all again.
Shut the fuck up, Shrek.
But like that's playing in the background.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, that's a nice callback to the first film.
Even in the third one, they had those sort of musical motifs. Like they'd have things that like in a pivotal scene, they'll have like a little lick. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that from the first two.
I like that usage of it specifically.
Yeah, and they have a scene at the end where it's like Accidentally in Love, but played like by like a different vocalist, or whatever. But like it's clear that it's the end of the saga,
which I like. It's a good ending to the saga.
Is it?
I think so. Remove the ogres,
yeah,
and it's a good ending to the saga.
And those ogre babies are just like, why did they put them in? They're just like, they're minions. They're the minions of the Shrek world.
I think Dronkies are way worse.
Dronkies and Shrek babies, just like no need.
I like the way that they're barely in the films.
Yeah.
Like they're in them, but they're barely in them because
their toys
DreamWorks knew like these are fucking horrendous.
yeah. But their toys were everywhere, absolutely everywhere. I remember them in the UCI when these like around the time when these came out. You walked past the fucking to go see whatever film you're watching, and they had the fucking skill cranes, like the little game machines, like all fucking baby ogres and like dronkies and like fucking minions and stuff like that. It was like not even in the film.
How close do you think DreamWorks were to being like, we should do a spin-off of Shrek, and it's all the ogre babies in play school.
Yeah, that's definitely crossed their mind. They're like the masses are not along the way enough to
A
consent
TV
to that.
show based on.
Yeah,
I guarantee you that came up.
I guarantee if the Shrek timeline or the Shrek like film series was like moved along 10 years and say like this came out, this is what 2011, 2010. This
2011.
came out, this came out next year. Shrek Forever After. We'd be seeing dronkies and baby Shreks everywhere, everywhere, and there'd
be no Baby Yoda, just be Baby Shrek.
Absolutely, all over Instagram, all over Twitter. There'd be memes and stuff like that, and we'd have fucking skill cranes on every street corner, and you'd have it'd just be everywhere, and there'd be TV series obviously on Nickelodeon and stuff like that.
God, that is actually like a hell. I'm
Yeah.
so happy.
We don't live in that
listen,
timeline.
right, that's the timeline that like Shrek is teleported to. Like
that's Shrek 5 plotline.
Yeah. Oh God. But I do like a lot of the things in this film. Like I like I like the way that it isn't lighthearted. I like the way that it is like way more serious. And it's like Shrek, here's like everything is against you. Like you are on the losing force of this revolutionary army. You have to fall in love with Fiona. Fiona does not believe in love. She actually fucking despises you.
Yeah, but like
I know that like it's a kids film, so
it's gonna
obviously
no, but I mean like in terms of he's trying to get with Fiona, and you just like I like the part where he doesn't like he kisses her and like nothing happens. That's pretty cool. I like that.
Can we talk about? This is something that I didn't like. I don't think we mentioned before. No, I know that we haven't. Cameron Diaz is really fucking good as Fiona. She has like a couple of lines in this where like the delivery is perfect. Like there's a bit where like Shrek is just like he's like pissed off because he's like I'm not the ogre I used to be and shit like that, and he's pissed off and he's like outside and he's raging about it, and he's just like, oh, you wouldn't understand, you lived half your life a princess and like a princess, and like really cutting. Like Fiona goes like, and the other half locked away in a tower, and then she's like I love how like you understand like both sides to that, because like Fiona's just like life could be so much worse.
Yeah.
Like you have all these things and you were like, it's way better to have all these things than to be completely alone. But Shrek doesn't see that.
Yeah, he wants to go back to the swamp. He just
wants
wants
to party.
He wants to chill out in the swamp. Instead he has all this shite.
I like the way that like that opening sequence and all, like that is annoying, but it's also annoying for the character, so it works. Like we feel how annoying everything is.
Yeah.
Like Shrek does.
Yeah, Cameron Diaz is good as Fiona. She's like really,
especially in this film.
She's that really airy fairy voice. She like influenced the plot of this, because she would only come back on the condition that the plot was or included elements related to the environmental degradation of the swamp. Like that was like a really specific demand that she had before she came back. And like when Shrek first returns or comes into this new timeline,
it's like dried up.
Yeah, the Shrek the swamp.
The Shrek.
The swamp is all dried up, and he has to like burst his way into his old gaff.
I don't know why he thinks Fiona's gonna be there.
Yeah, he's like, oh, there's no way in. Fiona,
what are you in there? It's like, obviously not.
Yeah, but you get it,
Yeah, you get it, because like
poor old Shrek, like
Rumpelstiltskin is like the ultimate capitalist. He's like completely dried up all the swamps. He's taken all the life out of everything. I love the way Puss eats Gingy in this as well. That was fucking gas.
I can't remember that.
He's just like Gingy's like trying to fight him or whatever, and then Gingy like just tells him like, oh, what's going on with Rumpelstiltskin, and then he's just like, Gingy, how do we get in? And he just turns around, and Puss in Boots is after eating them. And he's like, oh, sorry, were you gonna eat that? I was like, oh my god, Puss is after murdering Gingy,
one of the main characters in the entire series. That's so sad.
Yeah, all the side characters and stuff are like, Puss is, I don't like Puss in this.
Puss is shy.
He is
like,
shy.
Oh, I'm fat. And Donkey is like, oh, I'm not the person I used to be, but then he immediately turns back into the old Donkey within about 5 minutes of meeting Shrek. It's like, what's that about, One
thing I don't like as well is in Shrek 1, it took day and night for them to walk to like Dragon's Keep. In this film, they just go there immediately. Like they are immediately there because and like you only have like until the end of the day, or like until the sunrise. You've only got 24 hours.
They don't have that much time to be covering that much ground.
No, so they just do it. It's like, we just need them to get there.
Yeah. It's there's a lot of temporal inconsistencies in this film, which just really aren't really acceptable. But it's better than the third one. It's definitely better than the third one. But at the same time, they could have done so much more. Especially, they knew it was gonna be the last one, and they just pack it full of like shit puns and bad jokes, and just like the dude the roar kid is probably the best part of this film for me.
Easily,
Like the funniest part.
he's the funniest. But like, there's not
Well,
many.
like,
but there's
he's
not
just-
many other jokes in the film.
Yeah, that's it's a Shrek film. What are they
But
doing?
it's
Who do they
ending
think
with
they
a
are?
dark note. It's for the
It's a
like,
dark note.
because the kids that
the
grew
Nolan
up,
Shrek.
because the kids that grew up watching Shrek are they're a little bit older now, so they're able to handle this. Shrek might die, kids. Fuck you.
Yeah, Shrek dies. Fucking hell.
I just love it. If Shrek actually did die, that'd be the perfect.
That actually would, yeah. That would be so cathartic. Well, that'd be way too dark to be honest.
Too dark.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, there's like loads. I do like that line, like, oh, you know, because like his whole thing was like, I just wanted a day by myself to be an ogre. But then the best thing about the day was that he got to fall in love with Fiona all over again. Like that was the best part of the day. And he realizes that the best thing in his life isn't being an ogre; it's Fiona. True love.
Yeah.
Stop wincing.
It's been done. It's been done.
I think this is the one that like people disagree on a lot.
Yeah, I've heard like this is the only one. Like everyone hates Shrek the Third.
Everyone loves Shrek 1, Shrek 2. Everyone hates Shrek 3. And then Shrek 4, you can go either way.
It's like 50-50. Yeah, definitely.
What would you rate Shrek 4?
Shrek 4, two dronkies out of 5.
I'm going to give it 3 ogre triplets out of 3. Out of 4. Out of 5. Jesus Christ. 3 ogre triplets out of 5. They're fucking horrendous, though. Oh, my God.
Nah, why
so
did they put
bad.
them in?
They're so bad. They're not even cute.
Yeah, Fergus, was it Finkel and Felicia?
Felicia. Fergus is the best one. He's like the biggest dickhead. Fergus is the one that like kind of pisses in his mouth. Well, you think he pisses in his mouth for a bit. I was watching with my family, and my mom has never seen it before, and she was like, "Ugh!" And then she realized that it was water or whatever the fuck it was. It was water. She was so happy that it wasn't actually a ogre pissing in another ogre's
Ogre
mouth.
piss. Yeah, Lars von Trier take on Shrek.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah,
I want to see Lars von Trier with fucking what the fuck is his name? Herzog with the fellow the fellow that you were talking about as like the villain.
Yeah.
That's a film.
Yeah, Klaus Kinski is Shrek.
That'd be fucking hilarious. But they just use his old audio
Yeah,
from like every other film that he's done.
Dead, yeah. Speaking of dying, what about
What a great segue.
So forced. What about the little death of I'm thinking of ending things? Kaufman's latest Netflix
Extravaganza.
symposium. Yeah. What do you think? What you watched this last week? Was it?
I watched it last week. Yeah, I think I mentioned in the last episode that we'd probably come back to this. Now I haven't watched it. I said like, oh, I want to watch it again before I start talking about it. Fuck that.
Fuck that. This is so mentally draining to watch.
It's a lot. A full spoiler alert for this film. I think it's best if you don't know what's going on. Just like go in, watch it. You know, get your own reading on it. Think about what's happening in the film. What's the film talking about, and then maybe come back to us. But for those of you that have already seen it, here we go.
Let's go.
Our reading on the film, I guess, because, you know, in terms, like, there's not, like, you can't, again, like Antichrist, like, you can't really talk about this film without spoiling it. You know, you can talk about, like, how great the acting is, how great it's written, how well the shots are, how, like, you know, how good everything is. But that's not, the film is more than that. The film is about the reading, what you take away from it.
Exactly, yeah. This film is all reading, to be fair. Like, there's no, like, whatever plot is there, like, there's no real spoilers, I don't think. Because, like, whatever spoilers that we talk about would be something that you could take away as something different if you watched it, you know?
Yeah, you could watch it, like, we could spoil things for you, and then you watch the film, and you're just like, that's not what that meant.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So, yeah, I think, yeah, this is, like,
yeah, because there's
a
no
deeper analysis of the film.
Yeah, this is a white elephant of the film. Because there's no, like, big payoff. It's not like, whoa, Jake was a fucking ogre all along or whatever, you know? It's not like there's nothing in that.
There's
like
no
that,
twist or anything.
There's no twist, yeah.
It just goes.
It just happens. It just goes and it goes and it goes.
What do you think about the film?
I really liked it.
Mm.
I watched it many moons ago, like a few months ago, like right at the start of lockdown, because it came out around then,
Yeah.
and it was like you had to watch it closely, or I had to watch it closely.
You do
anyway,
have to watch it closely. There's
to,
no like looking at your phone during this film. You have to be focused.
yeah, which is almost inconvenient because that's why I wouldn't watch it again, to be honest. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's like it's hard to watch.
Yeah, because like I was watching it and like I had to take breaks because I was concentrating so much on what was going on. It was draining.
Yeah. I remember watching it. I was like, it was just like one night back way at the start when I was like fucking bright and bushy tailed. I was like, oh, I'll watch movies, figure out,
Figure out the world.
yeah, figure it all out and stuff like that. I was just watching this and I was like, it's quite a slog. But like I got load. I was like writing stuff down as I watched it and stuff like that. It's an interesting film, definitely. But it's like it's so Kaufman. It's so Kaufman because it's just like the characters are him. Like the characters are so real and they're so themselves and they're very individualistic and they feel really real. But at the same time, they're just Charlie Kaufman.
Oh yeah, they're like different parts of him.
They're just different parts of Charlie Kaufman,
which is what we talked about last episode. I think.
Yeah. Like they're just like they're really neurotic. And they're like too smart for their own good. They're like overeducated failures, basically.
Yeah.
And
except for the parents.
Yeah, the parents are like literally like the exact opposite.
The complete opposite.
Yeah, they're not
uneducated and have gone nowhere.
And they're like sliding very fast. Like it's not about the characters really. It's more about, even though the characters take up pretty much all the room, like all the camera space. But it's not about the characters. It's more about the theme of memory, I think, and the spectacle. I think the spectacle really comes into it a lot, and memory in general. What did you take away from that?
That's so interesting because I don't think it's about memory. I think it's about like seeing what you're going to become and resenting that, and seeing and like death is definitely a key aspect of it, and getting old and dying. And the fear of getting old and dying, which I think that's part of Synecdoche, New York. Now I haven't seen Synecdoche, New York. That's what that word is.
This film is mythical.
That word is like so unnecessary.
Yeah, just call it New York. New York.
But like, I think that's a film that we should actually maybe recommend, and then we can dive into. Although maybe not. Definitely not. But like. Because like I think like I'm thinking about Ending Things and Synecdoche, New York are like in the same kind of ilk and the same kind of vein, with like how confusing and how like all over the place they kind of are. Whereas like Anomalisa is like pretty straightforward, but like in terms of like plot. But again, similar to I'm thinking of Ending Things, Anomalisa is all about the conversations, which this film is also all about the conversations and what they're talking about, and like
like a lot of it is set in the car. It's just them. It's like a play almost. It's just them talking back and forth, and it's like you're supposed to read between the lines. It's not necessarily what they say. It's more about like, because a lot of what they say, like they just directly quote other people. Yeah. Even they quote or she. What's her name? I can't remember her name. I know his name is Jake. Jesse Plemons' character is Jake.
Can't remember her name.
Whatever her name is, she quotes or she references like David Foster Wallace and Guy Debord.
Yeah, which I wasn't because like we had only just talked about Guy Debord like on the podcast when I watched it. I was like, oh shit, what the fuck? We were just talking about this.
Yeah. But that's where I see like that sort of entry of the spectacle into the film, because a lot of it seems to me to be about memory, and memory is like an image. And the images of what we recall from our past or whatever, like from my notes, more nearly incomprehensible notes from back when I first watched it, I was thinking about the whole idea of there's like this memory technique, like this memorization technique that the Greeks made up, where it's called like the memory of loci, where if you're trying to memorize something, you'll imagine like a house.
Oh, like a mental palace.
Yeah, mental palace. That's literally that's just a different term for it. Yeah, like if you're trying to memorize something, you'll find like in one room you have something, and then it'll lead into another room and stuff like that. Like you imagine it as like a physical space.
Yeah, and you imagine your room, and you assign like the bed is number one, and on number one you think of like whatever year Alexander the Great was born, whatever, and you associate that with the bed, and then you move around the room and you memorize like a couple different things, and you're able to remember things that way.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Apparently, that's how they used to
A
remember.
taxi driver told me about that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's such a taxi driver thing
it
to
is.
say.
Yeah,
But oh yeah, that's apparently how they remembered. Because you know the way like back in the olden days with like the Iliad and shit like that, or even like back like before with like Sanskrit prosody and like the Mukhabarat and like all these like weird like ancient texts. Like they're all memorized basically.
they're all oral traditions.
Yeah, they're all oral traditions, but they're apparently they used the mental palace as like a model for like how they memorize these things. And, like in the film, the whole thing is it's within Jake's mental palace, and she's within that. So she's like in his parents' home, and then she goes to his old school, and then she goes to the Tulsi Town. It's called Tulsi Town, yeah. And then just the ice cream place Tulsi Town. It's like all these like little locations that he would know from his childhood. And it's like his mental palace, because like when you think of a mental palace, it's all these things that you know intimately from your childhood, because that's like your first impressions. Like that's like even when you dream, like I don't know if everyone else gets this, but like when you dream, you always imagine something from your childhood, or from like
somewhere like
somewhere
recognizable.
Familiar. In my reading of it was, they're in his mental palace, and they're walking around, and like it's his memory, but like it's almost like this extra temporal space where like it also includes this character who is Jake, as an older version of Jake.
Yeah, we can agree on. Yeah, Jake
Jake
is the fucking janitor.
Is the janitor? Yeah, but like it's also like his parents as well. Like it's not necessarily just Jake's space. Like also like the parents inhabit that as well.
Yeah,
and the parents are degrading very rapidly. But like the fact that like it's so compressed, like the way like they degrade like within minutes.
Yeah,
or from scene to scene. It's not like a true representation of like linear reality. It's more of like a representation of how Jake's memory perceived it. It's like, oh, they moved from this to this to this, and then it moves into a part where like he's taking care of the old people. Like maybe that's what he anticipates will happen, or maybe that's what he remembers
as
like,
an old man.
Yeah, as an old man. But like either way, I feel like it's like it's some sort of mental palace where she's come into it, and she's like completely alienated by the fact that she's in someone else's head, and she's just
so cool, because like that, when you're saying like, yeah, they literally like in each room they're a different age.
Yeah.
That's so fucking cool. Yeah, what the fuck? Yeah. I get your
yeah. That's what I was thinking way back when.
Yeah.
I must have been a lot, because most of this is just incomprehensible. I don't know what I was talking about. Yeah, but yeah, there's loads of ennui as well, like loads of like loneliness. There's a very, very like
he's such a lonely character, Jake.
Yeah, and Young One as well. Like there's very like they're almost cloistered in by their own like intelligence and their sophistication. They know too much for their own good, so they're so smart that they keep other people out. Even though Jake doesn't seem smart, he actually is.
Yeah.
And like, but that's like such a Kaufman trope, though, you know.
Yeah, because like when you first meet Jake, you're like, oh, this fella's a fucking Egypt. But then he knows everything that she's talking about. Yeah,
it really like, in a way that like you'd almost like, I think everyone's familiar with, like everyone knows like someone that knows like fucking random shit, and like she figures it out, not just within the car, which is almost like a neutral space, but also like by literally inhabiting his
mental palace.
Yeah, she penetrates his mental palace,
and she sees like, oh, this is what he's all thinking about. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, because like that's so like there's loads of different readings on this, and like I want to go through people's. I don't want to go into. I just know that if you went to the YouTube, everyone have the same fucking reading of the film, and I don't want to do that. But I wanted to talk to other people that have seen the film. Like Liam told me that, like he read it as like that Jake was a pedo, and that like it was him like torturing himself in his mind, thinking about all these things.
As a pedo.
Like the janitor is a pedo, and that like he sees little kids and stuff like that, and he's imagining like not even being with them, but like that he's like constantly like suffering because he's a pedo.
What the fuck?
Which is such a cool reading of the film as well.
Yeah, I had no idea where that came from. Like
I have no idea where that came from either. And Liam was like, I haven't talked to a single person that thought that.
yeah, I don't know where that came from.
But yeah, like my kind of reading of it was that it was it was a film that like changed perspectives in between both the girl and Jake. So as you said, like the car is a kind of neutral spot where like you're kind of seeing the two of them, but like it's more on the girl's side because she'll start thinking about something and then he'll like finish her thought. And it's just like he's being intrusive on who she is, that she can't. He's already like, how do I explain this? She's kind of doesn't want to be in a relationship with this man, and that she feels suffocated by him to the extent where he's in her head, and he can literally read her thoughts. And she's like, "Shut the fuck up, stop, let me be alone, let me have my own thoughts or whatever." And when she's reciting the poem, she like looks into the camera and like that's her one-on-one space, and she's like reciting this poem about like whatever she's thinking about, and then he's just like, "Oh, it's like you were talking about me," and it like takes that away from her, and then it proceeds to when you're into his house with the parents and all, it kind of switches to his perspective where like he sees his parents aging really quickly and he resents them for that because he knows that that's what he's going to be. He's going to end up aging really quickly, or not quickly, but like he's going to age and he's going to die and he's going to forget things and he's not going to be the same person that he is now, and he resents his parents for that. And then he's sitting at the table and they're all talking or whatever, and then the girl starts to mimic his mom, and it's like he starts to see himself becoming his parents with the girl that he's with now. And then it switches back to her perspective, and she's walking around the house and she's seeing like how his parents are going to age and how he's going to have to take care of them and how they're really fucking weird. Like that bit where like the dad is talking to her and he's just like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, it's a single bed, you know, you can't do much fucking in a single bed. It's for a child. And, you know, I can check my wife's stuff and, like, have a nightgown or whatever." Like, it's not, like, senile, like, craziness, I guess, where you're just being, like, way too intrusive. Because, like, you're old and you don't give a shit.
yeah, there's definitely that aspect to it, yeah. I also liked, or, like, it also ties into how they talk about the spectacle and David Foster Wallace as well. Like because David Foster Wallace talked about one of his points way back when was about how like in the media and you know, the simulation or whatever, the spectacle, because the board is referenced in this film, so we have an excuse to reference the spectacle in this film. So like Wallace talked about how the fact that aging is never depicted in, or the aged themselves are never depicted in media or TV, films, or anything like that. Like it's never, like aging is a perfectly like natural process, like something that we all go through, we all always will go through, but it's never represented on TV or on film. It's always about like young, beautiful people within a certain span of their lives. It's never about old people or people aging or anything like that.
Yeah, I think, people aging, because it's always like, even like in Shrek, like the king and the queen are always the same age in Shrek.
Yeah,
they're always the same age. Even in Shrek 4, where it like recedes in time a bit, they're still the same age that they are in Shrek 2 and 3. So it's like you're a constant age, but now I'm thinking of ending things, it is you see these people aging and you see them aging rapidly,
scene to scene. Yeah. Like there's talk about in
which is what you get in Synecdoche, New York as well.
Yeah.
Have you seen that film?
No.
That happens in the film as well. Like he ages rapidly and you see him deteriorating throughout the entire film. But go on, sorry.
Yeah. Because they talk about like shitty films and like basically like bad media as like a virus in the film. Like there's like direct quotes, something about even crappy movie ideas want to live, and it's like the rabies virus turning us into itself. Like the way media representations sort of reflect back from you, like you sort of internalize them and like reproduce them within yourself. So like when you feel the process of aging, it's this like feeling of horror, like the feeling that she gets in the film when she sees, or like she even imagines the idea of his parents aging, or even the idea that she would have to deal with that is like this horrible thing, like this sort of horrifying thing. Whereas like in reality, it's like a perfectly natural process that's like completely inescapable, basically.
Inescapable, it's natural, and yet we all resent and fear it.
Yeah, like it's terrifying, you know, for her, and like probably in general, like you know,
in general, like the idea that you're gonna be an old person that can't do anything.
Yeah, it's like her trying to grapple with that.
Yeah, Yeah, I think aging is such a huge thing, especially because like I feel like the janitor and Jake are the same being, but like for me, the janitor is what she imagines Jake is gonna be, because Jake is this really intelligent person, but he doesn't have any qualifications and he's not really working, so he's gonna end up fucking being a janitor in a school when he's old, and he's gonna end up like, you know, mopping the floors with all these thoughts, these really intelligent thoughts, but he can't use them for anything. Like he's just gonna have to sit there with his thoughts, and that's where like the ice cream scene is like, that was her warning her like, stay away from him. He's gonna end up being nowhere. But that was the girl projecting that idea onto someone.
Yeah.
That like that was her talking to a projection of like what she feels that Jake will be like. Stay away from him. He'll just drag you down. You won't go anywhere with him.
Yeah.
He's gonna end up being a fucking janitor. Stay away. Like you will never proceed in your career if you stay with this guy, basically, because she herself doesn't want to stay with him. And then you go to the school, and it's like repetition of that, to the point where you get the dance scene, which comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
And the dance scene being the old man killing the young man, because aging is inevitable, and we all age, and we can't do anything about it. And either she wants to stay with him, or she doesn't. But either way, Jake will age, and she can't do anything about it.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the ending, which is like a speech from it's a similar speech to A Beautiful Mind, which I think is interesting because the film seems to be talking about Alzheimer's and getting old or whatever, and like, you know, losing your mind basically from old age. But A Beautiful Mind being the story of a young man who lost his mind and got schizophrenia, and like lost it basically. Even though he was a young, intelligent man, he like started getting real paranoid and imagining things that weren't real, which is a reflection of a young, like Jake's fear of being like young, but fearing being old and losing your mind. And then his imagination of Oklahoma, which is you know, it's a musical about like young people falling in love or whatever. Those characters will always stay at that age. Is what you're talking about with, you know, with aging. Like it's never ever depicted of like the process of aging. You're always the one age when you're a character, which is what Jake wants to be. He wants to stay young, and he wants to stay like falling in love forever. But you can't do that, bro. You're gonna get old, and you're gonna get shit.
Everyone wants to be a character in a movie. Movie characters don't age. You know, everyone in real life ages from day to day. It's one of those escapable facts, one of those horrible facts that we all have to deal with. But the only reason that it's horrible is because we have these like representations bouncing back or reflecting back onto us every single day. Every time we look at the screen, there's always that sort of like freeze frame image of this person like frozen in like beautiful youth, and you're like, oh my god, I can't believe, like you wake up next day and you're like, oh my god, I'm older. It's like, this is horrible. You know, like there's a part in the film where they talk about the eye as like a sensor. Like it's not something that it's only there to improve like the sensory capacity of the mammal that it belongs to. Like it's not supposed to see things as they are. It's just there to improve the fitness of the animal that it's attached to. It's like sort of, I don't think it's like completely serious, but it's more about rationalizing the eye and like the image as something that you can't completely have any faith in. Yeah. And like as a consequence, you can't put everything into your perceptions about what you see on the screen or what you perceive, even in your memories and stuff like that, because those are so tied up together these days. But what you're talking about with Liam was saying with the Tulsi Town people and stuff like that, I always saw it as like a like almost like an overlook hotel kind of thing, like The Shining. Yeah, like I always saw it as like within Jake's memory palace or whatever. Yeah. These were just like his demons, his things that he parked away. Yeah, his ghosts, like his insecurities. Yeah, because like even the two girls are like laughing at him and stuff like that. Yeah, they're laughing at him and they're like, stay away from him. Like everyone has that, you know. It's like, I don't deserve all this or whatever. I don't deserve love, you know. And like, yeah, that's what they're saying. That's part of Jake saying that to her because she's within his head, basically. Yeah, that's what I read it as, sort of like an overlook kind of thing, like The Shining. Yeah, like he's Jack Torrance, and they're the fucking, you know, they're the ghosts. Yeah, they have a point in the film where they're talking about like how
all great art or any like innovation in art or in science or whatever is done by young people, and old people are shit and they don't contribute
Yeah.
anything. And it's that thing like you're told to believe that by films themselves, by everything around us, that like to be young is to have potential
Mm,
and to be able to do things with that youth. Whereas when you're old, you don't get that chance because
you're old.
you're
Yeah.
told you've wasted your life and you haven't done anything.
Yeah, you're done. Like,
Yeah, you're done.
yeah, which is obviously bollocks.
It's obviously bollocks.
But
Like,
it's like the narrative that's just sort of been embedded within our reality these days, or not even these days, like going back a few hundred years, I suppose. But
it's definitely a
is.
reoccurring thing. Like, but I think it's so interesting that like I don't think that was such a thing in societies beforehand. Like in like or not even in different societies, in different cultures. Like I've been watching Watchmen, and there's such an interesting scene where there is a Vietnamese character, and she has like a statue of someone that she admires, and someone's like, "Oh, why do you have them as being old?" And she's like, "Oh, because in our culture and like Eastern cultures, it is something to be like to look forward to being old and being wise and having all this knowledge." Whereas they're like, "Oh, well, in our culture, we see as being like shit and being old." Whereas in Eastern cultures, it's something to be like revered of being old, and being old is like you have like you've done everything you can do, and like other people can learn from you. Like this is such a Western film of being terrified of being old.
Well, that's the thing. Like, old people aren't productive. Old people don't produce anything.
Yes,
Like, they
which is the
just
capitalist thing.
yeah. Like, old people just have all this knowledge, and they know all these things, and like they've been through life. They've been through the washer. They know pretty much everything there is to know that you can know within like 80 years of existing. But they don't
produce anything
because they don't have the physical strength, and like sometimes like maybe they're deteriorating mentally, and so like they can't produce anything in terms of capital or whatever, and so they're completely useless.
Yeah, especially within the capitalist system. That
Yeah.
even like they could maybe mentally, they probably could mentally contribute, but technology is leaving them behind, and
Yeah.
is literally making a useless class of people.
Exactly, yeah. Like a pension is basically just a drain on the state. Like, a pension doesn't produce anything, but you have to have a pension there, because otherwise
They would starve and die.
otherwise the sons and daughters of the pensioners would be like, this isn't fair. I'm like, that's the only reason it's there,
Yeah,
because the people actually produce have like an emotional attachment to the people who don't, and like if that's not there, then things start to you get into weird territory.
yeah,
Fucked.
it's fucked.
It's
It
fucked.
is
It's a
fucked.
completely fucked way of thinking about aging, because especially something that's literally inevitable,
Inevitable. You can't do anything
inescapable,
about it.
inescapable.
But it's only in our culture, in our Western culture, where you're told like and especially because like Jake only sees like he doesn't see his parents but he sees his parents as basically wasting their lives because they never did anything. They just
Yeah.
stayed on the farm and they got old and they died, and that's it. But like he resents them for that, because like, oh no, you could have done so much more with your youth. You could have studied, and you could have been you could have invented the internet or some shit like that. Like,
Yeah.
he sees like you could have done these things, but you didn't. You wasted your time, and I resent you for that. But I myself, I'm gonna do the exact same thing, so I hate you for that even more, because I see what I'm gonna become in you. And it's like that's such a fucked mindset, because it's like you don't need to do anything. You can live your life
Yeah.
that way and be completely happy, and it's fine. And his parents are happy. His parents are like
Yeah.
they're married like 50 years or something ridiculous. They're clearly happy together. So what does it matter if they don't produce anything?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, there's nothing wrong with doing what they did, like just living simply on a farm. And there's also nothing wrong with even the way he like sort of he blames them for his failures. Like, it's not even a failure, but like he blames them for sort of preordaining his fate.
Yeah,
Whereas his
it's
fate
like-
his fate isn't preordained. Like, he sees the past as completely finished, which is true obviously, but he also sees the future as also being finished, because he can't escape what's been like determined for him by his parents,
yeah.
which is like, it's like circular thought.
Yeah, it's like that thing like it's like if they, it's like if they had invented the internet, or if they'd like become lawyers or whatever, we'd have money and I would have the potential to be something bigger than what I am right now.
Yeah.
Because you probably could have got a great job if your parents were fucking minted, but they're not minted. So you have to work really, really hard to get to that level. and you didn't, so you're gonna fucking blame your parents for not doing that work for you, basically.
Yeah, it would have been easier if they were rich, but they're not rich. So, like, do you want to step up and like do all that stuff, or just want to like, you know, recognize what the problem is here? I don't know. It is.
I don't know what the problem you're talking about, Marcus. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, this film is like so depressing.
It is so depressing.
So depressing. Like, I don't want to talk about this film anymore.
Yeah, you know, Mark, I'm thinking of ending this podcast.
That's so good.
Yeah, that's the end of the podcast. Next week we're talking about Gremlins.
Yes, we are.
Make sure to watch it. A Christmas episode, actually.
It's our Christmas special. Absolutely. Get ready. Shrek the Halls. Get it ready. Gremlins. Can't wait. It's going to be Jingle Bell themed.
I just realized I gotta watch Christmas movies this week. I gotta watch I'm gonna watch Muppets this week.
Yeah, we'll watch a few Christmas movies.
Which is my favorite Christmas movie of all time.
We'll make a list. We'll watch all the same films.
All the same films. You gotta watch Muppets Christmas Carol with me, Mark.
Definitely.
It's great.
I definitely.
Have you ever seen it?
I have, yeah, with Patrick Stewart.
No, Michael Caine's in it.
Oh shit, yeah. Wait, which one's the one that Patrick Stewart? Or maybe I'm just confusing. Christmas Carol. Is he not Scrooge?
No,
Is that Michael Caine?
That's Michael Caine in this one, and then Bill Murray played him in Scrooged, and Jim Carrey played him in the animated one, which is really weird.
Yeah,
it's
I remember
a really
that
weird film.
Yeah, that was weird.
But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this podcast on this cold December night. We'll be back next week talking about other movies and probably other bullshit.
Exactly. Good night. God bless.
Good night.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.